Chapter 51. Okay, this guy made a wise choice and watched Augustus in front of him start to crawl towards the river. Angia also spread out the dragon wings on her back and flew at low altitude to follow. Wow! Plunging headlong into the river, the Blue Crab King, nearly 100 meters in size, was undoubtedly a big guy. Even when lying down in the river, half of the body is exposed to the water. The long and winding red dragon tail swung, and Augustus swam in front of the Blue Crab King. Looking at the big guy in front of him, his eyes slowly fell on the crab legs and a pair of large pincers. Sure enough, dismemberment is the most convenient. The dragon's tail swung, and its body swam between a pair of large pincers. The Blue Crab King is really big. Just a pair of pincers is 2.5 the size of the body of Augustosaurus. The dragon's head is aimed at the joint of the crab's claws. The dragon's snout opens, and a mixture of dragon breath is exhaled. The hard shell on the joints burned by the dragon's breath quickly turned gray. Crack! The strong dragon claws fell off with just a slight touch of the crab claws. Dragon Claw grabbed the crab claw and handed it directly to Angietchuan next to him. The moment Angie stretched out her claws to catch it, the dragon's body began to sink. So heavy. The blue vertical pupils condensed, and the dragon wings spread out and flapped under the water. Then they stopped sinking and began to slowly float towards the surface of the water. Augustus watched Angia's back quietly. This Angia is really strong enough. Looking away, Augustus continued to work on the limbs of the blue-backed crab king. After about 10 minutes of busy work, okay, this blue-backed king crab has no limbs anymore. The dragon's tail swung, and Augustus swam directly out of the water. Zila! The strong dragon claws slid a certain distance on the back of the blue-backed crab king, and fire exploded. When he stopped just in front of the large hole penetrated by the flame gun. The meat inside exudes a light and fresh aroma. Smelling this fresh fragrance, Augustus unfolded his dragon wings and dug his claws into the hard shell. Call. Wow! The blue-backed king crab soaked in the water slowly surfaced, feeling the weight under the dragon's claws. It's a bit heavy, but not so heavy that it can't be moved. The dragon wings flapped vigorously. As August exerted his strength, the huge body of the blue-backed crab king completely emerged from the water. Holding the blue-backed king crab under his claws, Augustus flew directly to the top of the terraces and released his claws. Boom! The ground trembled slightly. Ouch! Kalea, who was lying on the carapace, slowly opened her eyes and saw the big crab falling on the ladder pool. In an instant, crystal dragon saliva overflowed from the dragon's kiss uncontrollably. Although the life crystal core is very powerful, it cannot satisfy the appetite. The chubby white dragon wings spread out and fluttered. Kalea flew directly towards the blue-backed crab king and landed next to Augustus, who was standing on the back shell. Auguseo, the moment it fell, Kalea directly pressed the dragon's body against August's body, and the round white dragon head rubbed against August's neck. But her eyes were looking straight at the big hole on the back shell, with something inside. Baingyi's crab meat. Augustus raised his dragon claw and pushed the white fool away with some disgust. The mouth is full of saliva, like a fool. No, the white dragon was originally a white fool before he became an adult. Stop rubbing against me. If you want to eat, go and eat by yourself. Now food is plentiful for them. Even after eating these crabs, there is still plenty of prey in this stone forest. So Augustus was not prepared to restrict this idiot in terms of food, and of course Angia was the same. August is so good, Kalea praised happily, apparently having completely forgotten about the dragon holding her tail and shaking it. The chubby dragon's claws moved, and the dragon's body drilled directly into the big hole on the back shell. Looking at this posture, it was obvious that he was ready to eat a lot. Huh. The blue dragon claw gracefully landed on the back shell, and the blue dragon wings spread out on the back slowly closed. Angia glanced at August in front of her, said nothing, and moved her dragon claws towards the entrance of the big cave in front. The meat of this blue crab king has high magic power, and eating it is very good for her growth. Seeing that Angia also got into the back shell, Augustus raised his paw and touched his belly. To be honest, he wasn't hungry right now. The life crystal core directly saturated the magic power in his body. Huh! The dragon's kiss opened, and after a lazy yawn, Augustus lay down on the spot. Forget it. Let's take a nap first. The eyelids became heavier and heavier. The pink eyelids closed, the thick eyelids slowly closed, and the vision went directly into darkness. Shasha! Several 7-meter-long gray giant wolves walked onto the riverbank. Their green eyes looked at the hills of prey on the other side of the river, and fishy saliva flowed from the wolf's snout. After waiting for a while, it seemed that there was no danger. Several gray giant wolves moved out of the way. A white giant wolf, which was all white and looked particularly handsome. Its size was not much different from that of the gray giant wolves. It was among a group of gray giant wolves. The wolves came out surrounded by wolves. The white wolf's pair of green wolf eyes are different from those of its kind. They are exceptionally clear, like a wise man. The white wolf looked at the mountains of prey in front of him. There was a hint of greed in the green wolf eyes, but when it saw the red monster lying on the shell of its old rival, it lowered its head. Although it was only for a moment, its innate ability was still successfully activated at that moment. Hot flames burned the wolf's body, painful, and the strong wolf's body became weak. This is an extremely dangerous opponent. A low roar came from the white wolf's throat, and the sound was very regular, as if it was a unique language. Soon the white wolf stopped roaring, turned around and ran wildly down the river. The green eyes of the giant gray wolves showed confusion. They didn't understand why their wolf king had to give up so many prey in front of him. There are obviously so many prey on the other side of the river. The wolves will obey the wolf king. Even though they were confused, the gray giant wolves still chose to obey their own wolf king. The wolf claws moved, and the wolves followed the white wolf king running in front. Across the river bank, Augustus, who was lying on the crab shell, instantly raised his thick eyelids, revealing a pair of majestic vertical pupils as red as lava. Looking at the backs of the running wolves, there was a hint of regret in his red vertical pupils. He had actually sensed these wolves the moment they appeared. Originally, we were planning to wait until all these puppies entered the water before attacking, but now it seems that this is obviously not possible. These puppies are so alert that even Master Ming is pretending to be asleep. Shouldn't we just launch a sneak attack at this time? Looking at the backs of the wolves that had quickly disappeared, a tangled look flashed in the red vertical pupils. Do you want to give chase? Chapter 52. In this brief hesitation, the wolves running along the river had disappeared on the horizon. These puppies can run very fast. The pink eye mask was closed, and the thick eyelids slowly closed again. Yes, Augustus gave up his hunting plan. They all live in a stone forest. When fate comes, I will definitely meet these puppies again. Then I will treat these cute puppies well. Consciousness slowly sank along with sleepiness. The three dragons stayed on the ladder pool for a long time. The largest green-backed crab king was the first to be eaten up. The devoured green-backed crab king left a huge crab shell, like a cave. Because the shape was so suitable, at Angia's suggestion, the three dragons put a layer of pebbles into the carapace together. In this way, this giant crab shell became the new home of the three dragons. The days passed by. There is no concept of time in the underground world, and the sky is always purple. Anyway, for Sanlong, he basically eats and goes to bed every day. He sleeps until he wakes up naturally and then continues to eat. A 15-meter-long red beast lies on a crab shell. The ladder pool is filled with various empty crab shells, like densely packed round stones placed in the ladder pool, covered with red dragon scales. The strong dragon claws picked up a big crab claw and put it in the dragon's kiss. The large crab claws are covered with a layer of white frost, and a faint white cold air emanates from it. Under normal circumstances, food cannot be preserved for that long. In order to prevent it from rotting, Augustus took by Fool and Angia to dig a hole nearby. Of course, in this process, Augustus played the role without hesitation. After all, this underground world is so dangerous. It would be dangerous if a monster suddenly jumped out and attacked. After digging the hole, move all the crabs in, and ask Kalea to breathe a few mouthfuls of dragon breath into it every 3 or 2 days. Then block the hole with a stone, and a dragon-made refrigerator will appear. Pata-pata. Hearing the sound, Augustus just wanted to raise his head to take a look at a round white dragon head before he stepped forward and looked directly into the shiny white vertical pupils. Augustus could see a bit of eagerness in these shining white vertical pupils. The thick hind paws stood upright. Kalea stood upright and pulled her front paws on the empty crab shell, looking at Augustus in front of her. August is not good. What's wrong? There is no food in the cave. After Kalea finished speaking, her pair of bright white vertical pupils looked longingly at the big crab claws in August's paws. She just woke up and subconsciously ran to the cave to find food, but what she saw was an empty space. Cave. After hearing what this idiot said, Augustus calmed down instantly. It was normal, too normal. The last crab in the cave was the one under him. Wait, what is this idiot looking at? Following the white idiot's gaze, Augustus lowered his dragon head and saw the last big crab claw placed under him. It turns out that this is what I was looking at. The fiery red vertical pupils expanded slightly. Anyway, I was bored, so let me tease the white fool. He picked up the crab claws with his claws and handed them to the little fool in front of him. Looking at the large crab claws handed over, Kalea's pair of bright white vertical pupils quickly spread, and her chubby white front paws were raised to catch the large crab claws. When he saw that the chubby white claws were about to touch the big crab claws, the strong red dragon claws holding the big crab claws quietly lifted up. As the height increased, Kalea's claws were once again farther away from touching the giant crab claws. Wow! The thick white hind paws soaked in the water were padded. Just when the claws were about to touch the giant crab's claws, the strong red dragon's claws were slightly raised again. Looking at the white idiot in front of him with his paws working hard, Augustus's fiery red vertical pupils spread with joy. This white idiot is so stupid and cute. Less than 20 meters away, there was a blue baby dragon lying on an empty crab shell. It was about 8 meters in size, the same as Kalea. He raised his eyelids and opened his pink eyes, revealing a pair of blue vertical pupils that quickly condensed. He glanced at the scene not far ahead. Obviously, this guy August is teasing fools again. This guy Kalea is also stupid enough. If he wants to take the last food from this guy August's mouth, how can he? As if he saw something incredible, his blue vertical pupils quickly condensed. Forget it. Stop teasing this idiot. Augustus let go of the big crab claws held in the dragon's claws. Ouch! The big crab claw that suddenly fell hit Kalea's round dragon head directly. Kalea screamed, but her reaction was not slow at all. Her chubby front paws stretched out and firmly caught the falling crab claws. Wow! The plump dragon body sat down in the water. Kalea, who was holding the big crab claws, opened the dragon's kiss and started to nibble on it. Augustus raised his eyes and looked at Angia, who was lying not far away in front of him, and saw Angia not far away looking at him. Are you awake? There was a hint of regret in the red eyes. It seemed that Angia couldn't use the bed service. Now that everyone is awake, it's time to go hunting. All the food reserves in the cave have been eaten up, and it's time to prepare some new food reserves. After this period of eating, sleeping, and eating, Augustus found that he kind of liked this lazy lifestyle. This kind of lifestyle may seem degenerate to other races, but actually it is not to the giant dragon species. The giant dragon species has a long life, and this leisurely lifestyle is the most suitable for the giant dragon species. Also, for dragons, sleeping in is not the same as depravity. Given the characteristics of dragons, the more they sleep, the more they can grow. Take himself as an example. Although he has not advanced during this period of leisure, the magic power in his body has increased qualitatively. The fire magic power has exceeded 1500, and the time magic power has also increased to 996. Not only that, the dragon body has also been qualitatively improved, with strength, dragon scale defense, and muscles. Counting his own super magic stability talent, Augustus is now confident that he can seriously injure the giant lizard with one shot. With flames surging in his red vertical pupils, Augustus raised his strong red dragon claw and moved toward Angia, who was not far away. What does the regret in this guy's eyes mean? Although she was reluctant, August was now the boss of Dragon Nest. After thinking about it, Angia spread out a pair of dragon wings and flapped them. The dragon's body flew close to the water, not far away, and soon Angia dropped her claws on the crab shell where Augustus was lying. The blue dragon claw landed gracefully and smoothly. What's the matter? It really looks like a cat. Such thoughts flashed through his mind. Augustus looked at Angier in front of him. The blue dragon body was slender, but not thin. The blue dragon scales on his body also looked very shiny. A pair of the blue vertical pupils are as blue as gems, and the gaze inside is always calm. There is both the natural indifference of the five-color dragon and a sense of scrutiny. Chapter 53. Judging by the dragon's aesthetics, Angia looks like that elegant and proud Lolita lady. But August stared at Angier in front of him, and a bold thought arose in his heart. He really wanted to see a different emotion in those calm blue vertical eyes. But not now. The top priority now is hunting and hoarding food. There's no food. It's time for us to go hunting. The red dragon head that had been lying on the crab shell was raised and looked at the stone forest on the other side of the riverbank. Strong dragon claws support the dragon body. The single wing was more than 10 meters long, and the thick dragon wings covered with fiery red dragon scales spread out. The dragon claws separated from the crab shell, and the dragon body rushed into the sky. Looking at the fiery red figure flying away, Angia silently unfolded the dragon wings on her back and followed. Kalea, who was sitting in the ladder pool, watched eagerly as August and Angia flew out. She didn't dare to savor the taste anymore. The last bit of crab claws left in the dragon's claws was stuffed directly into the dragon's kiss. His cheeks were filled instantly. "Pete, wait for me." After shouting, Kalea unfolded a pair of chubby and thick dragon wings on her back and shook her head vigorously. Flying in the air, Augustus did not fly very high, only 50 meters above the ground, flying above the stone forest. The stone forest is so big that you can't see the end at a glance. The terrain is even more crisscrossed, like a large maze. As a flying dragon, Augustus couldn't imagine how these monsters living in the stone forest could not get lost. The reserve ingredients in the stone forest are really abundant. After just flying for a while, Augustus saw many wild beasts and magical beasts, including large ones, but they were all individual traders, and their ranks were not high. I have been eating crab meat for a while, and the minimum level is 1 level of Warcraft. Now I am looking at these ordinary beasts and ordinary World of Warcraft with less than 1 level. To be honest, I kind of look down on these guys. The hunting desire in my heart cannot be stimulated at all. Ouch! At this moment, a wolf howl came from the left direction. Hearing the sound, his red vertical pupils quickly condensed. Which puppies? I really didn't expect these puppies to be so closely related to me. Augustus happily opened his dragon's kiss while flying, revealing 2 rows of full and sharp dragon teeth. Now that we are here, I have to accept this ape dung. The dragon's wings flap and the dragon's body deflects to the left. After flying for less than 20 seconds, in a large open space not far ahead, a group of gray giant wolves were confronting a group of horned lizards. In the middle of the confrontation between the giant wolves and the horned lizards lay a fire-type monster with fiery red fur. Look, the level of magic power fluctuation should be in the first ring. It looks similar to a cow in appearance, except that there are 2 pairs of red horns on the cow's head. One pair is downward and the other is curved upward. The fire bull is not dead yet, lying on the ground panting, a pair of bloodshot bull eyes staring fiercely at the surrounding monsters. Its belly has been scratched, and a lot of internal organs have flowed out of the belly. Look at it, it was obvious that he would not survive. Confrontation? This is about to start a fight. If you don't watch the free drama, it will be in vain. Stop the urge to pounce. Looking at the tallest stone pillar nearby, the dragon wings folded and dived directly. Noticing the direction of August's dive, Angia thought for a moment and glanced at the stupid white fool next to her. "Follow me, Kalea." Ouch! Kalea's bright white vertical pupils showed a look of confusion. Isn't there something wrong with the direction in which August Ao and Ingiro dived? The food is obviously down there. Stop where you are, look at the food below, and look at the direction in which August Ao and Ingiro are flying. After a brief hesitation, Kalea chose to follow her instincts and followed August Ao and Ingiro. The strong red dragon claw landed smoothly on the stone pillar platform. At the top of the stone pillar was a platform of more than 20 meters, which was completely enough for August to land. In order to avoid disturbing the performers below, Augustus deliberately lowered his landing force. 4 paws fell to the ground. Okay, landing smoothly. As soon as the dragon body lay down, he felt a heavy weight on his back, then another heavy weight, and 2 familiar weights appeared on his back. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at the fallen crumbs on Angier and by fools' backs. What do these 2 guys mean? There is obviously a place next to them. Why? Ouch! Just then a wolf howled from below. Forget it, let's ignore these 2 guys for now. Hearing the sound, Augustus immediately stuck out the dragon's head along the stone pillar platform. Kalea and Angia, who were lying on August's back, took up positions on the broad dragon's back, one on the left and the other on the right, and also stretched out their necks. White, red, and blue, 3 dragon heads poked out of the stone pillar platform. In the open space below, the gray wolves gave way, and a white wolf with flowing wolf fur and a particularly handsome look walked out of the passage that the wolves made way. A powerful aura emanated from the white wolf. Hiss! Faced with the oppression of the white wolf, the horned lizards had no intention of giving in. The white wolf stepped forward little by little and came to the fire bull who was still panting on the ground, raising his white wolf claws. A silvery white light flashed in the air. Poof! Blood splashed everywhere, and the white wolf's flowing pure white fur was stained with some blood, but the blood quickly flowed from the pure white wolf fur. It seemed that ordinary blood was not qualified to infect its pure whiteness. The firebull head, which was still wheezing and panting just a second ago, fell weakly to the ground, and its body was broken into two halves from the middle of the abdomen. After cutting off the firebull, the white wolf lowered his head, picked up the back half of the bull, and flicked it away. Half of the firebull turned into a parabola and landed in front of a group of horned lizards. There is a giant lizard king behind this group of horned lizards. If White Wolf doesn't want to conflict with this group of guys, there is no need to waste money in vain, and it will soon break through the fifth ring. When the time comes, it won't be too late to slowly sort out all this. Facing the thrown food, a horned lizard simply climbed up, grabbed the food, and started dragging it towards the group. After the firebull was dragged into the group of lizards, a group of horned lizards swarmed up and started eating. More than 30 horned lizards ate together, and half of the firebull only persisted for a few dozen seconds before leaving only a pile of bones. The white wolf watched the group of horned lizards eating coldly. Hiss! After eating half of the fire ox, a group of horned lizards simply retreated. They are free food, so they shouldn't go too far. The king has been sleeping recently. If he really conflicts with these wolves, it will definitely not end well in the end. The wolf king of this pack of wolves is quite difficult to offend. The top of the stone pillar. That's it. That's it? I thought you guys were going to fight, but it seems like I have to come and take action myself. Lying on August's back and looking at the two groups of monsters below, Angia saw a strange light in her blue vertical pupils. Chapter 54. Feeling the dragon's body starting to stand up under him, his blue vertical pupils condensed slightly, as if he had made some kind of determination. Wait a moment, Augustus. Hearing Angia's voice, Augustus's dragon body paused. On the ground, a feeling of being spied on arose in his heart, and the white wolf suddenly raised his head. He looked towards the direction where the sense of peeping came from, the top of a stone pillar. There is nothing. The stone pillars look empty. Could it be that my perception was wrong? But why is there a faint feeling of uneasiness in my heart? Ouch! The white wolf roared. As if they had received some permission, a group of wolves swarmed up and pounced on half of the fire ox. The white wolf did not participate in the meal. It raised its head and looked around cautiously. The strong sense of uneasiness in my heart not only did not disappear, but became stronger and stronger. Ouch! As soon as the group finished eating, the white wolf roared, then took the lead and ran into the stone forest. On the stone pillar platform, Augustus poked out the dragon's head again, his eyes silently watching the escaping white wolf. The second time. The first time, the white wolf king also chose to escape without hesitation. This white wolf king should have some special talent. Time inspires me to leave you alone. You have discovered a somewhat special white wolf king, and your strong intuition makes you choose to hunt it. You may get some unexpected rewards. Hunting? This is exactly what I wanted. But before that, Augustus turned the dragon's head and looked back, his eyes directly meeting Angia's eyes. Just now, he was ready to spread his wings and dive, but Angia's words made him subconsciously stop the dive. I think you need to give me an explanation, Angia. Facing the gaze with red vertical pupils, Angia noticed the flames floating up and down in the red vertical pupils. This guy is angry. The blue dragon head moved up and down slightly. Well, I have an idea. The white wolf king just now is about to advance. It is not easy to deal with. I believe you can defeat this white wolf king, but you will definitely pay some price. The attribute of this white wolf king is wind. Your magic, it might be a little difficult to hit the opponent. The slightly opened red dragon kiss closed again. Although, Angia's words did make sense. With the wind attribute, the fastest attribute, it is indeed difficult to hit the opponent with a flame gun. Even if you use the maximum charge to cover it with firepower, you may not be able to hit it. So if you really want to hunt the white wolf king, melee combat may be the only option. Injuries will certainly be unavoidable by then. Looking at Angia in front of him, let's listen to this guy's advice. The red dragon's head moved up and down slightly, indicating that it agreed with Angia's statement. Seeing Augustus nodding, Angia continued. Isn't there a monitor lizard behind those big horn lizards? Let's frame the blame. According to the habits of wolves, although wolves are gregarious monsters, they will search for prey separately when hunting. After finding prey, they will call their companions to encircle and suppress them together. The number of wolves in the pack just now was 52. The half of the firebull monsters obviously couldn't fill their stomachs, so they definitely still need to hunt. We can follow up and hunt the wolves that separate from the pack in search of prey, leaving traces while leading the wolves to the den of the horned lizards. Wolves are social monsters. They have extraordinary unity. If a wolf is killed, the Wolf King will definitely take revenge at all costs. Otherwise, the wolves will not continue to obey the Wolf King. These are the knowledge that Angier read while she was sleeping. Augustus carefully looked at the Angier in front of him, and it must be Angier like you. Should it be said that it is worthy of being a 5-color dragon? This frame-up was very dirty, but I like it. The red dragon's kiss split. Your idea is very good, but there is another problem. We don't seem to know where the horned lizard's lairs are, right? After the blue vertical pupils and the red vertical pupils looked at each other for 2 seconds, they turned their heads to look at Kalea lying on the left almost at the same time. Ouch! Faced with the sudden stares from both eyes, Kalea's round white dragon head moved to the right, and only the bright white vertical pupils were clear to the bottom. The smell of the horned lizards in the air hasn't dissipated yet. Kalea, just follow them. Don't attack. Ouch! Kalea continued to tilt her head. Aren't you going to hunt them? The idiot emotion didn't even listen to what Angier said just now. Explain. Look at the stupid white fool in front of you. Forget it. Give up. It's hunting. But this time we're going to hunt in a different way. August paused before continuing. Anyway, just follow them. Follow them to find the nest where they live, and then come back directly. Once you're done, I will give you a reward, Full Life Crystal Core Tube Award. The core of life is full. The fat, all-like white dragon tail swung behind Kalea's ***, and a pair of shining white vertical pupils also condensed. This meant that she was starting to get serious. As long as I follow those horned lizards to their lair, I'll come back to find Augustus, right? Augustus. Sure enough, this idiot's IQ will rise as soon as he hears about eating. The red dragon's snout was slightly split. That's right. Oh, I understand. Then I'll leave now. Kalea unfolded her dragon wings and stared at August as if waiting for an answer. Go on. Finish this job, and the life crystal core tube will be full. Ouch! The young and sweet Lolita sounds full of energy. The chubby white dragon wings that had been unfolded vigorously flapped, and Kalea flew into the sky and flew towards the stone forest on the right, in the direction where the group of horned lizards left. Looking away from Kalea's leaving figure, Augustus looked at Angier in front of him. Kalea took action, and then it was their turn to hunt those giant gray wolves. But looking at the crumbs on her back, Angier seemed to have no intention of removing it. Forget it. Seeing as this guy came up with a good idea, I don't care. Withdrawing his gaze, the dragon wings that had spread out on his back flapped, and the fiery red dragon body jumped forward and flew off the stone pillar platform. The dragon's wings flap rapidly, and the dragon's body rises quickly. After flying for a while, dense gray dots appeared in the stone forest below. The eyesight of the dragon species is naturally strong. Even though the gray wolves on the ground look like small black dots, Augustus can still clearly see the appearance of the wolves below, especially the leading White Wolf King, who is the most conspicuous. Thinking of the specialness of this White Wolf King, Augustus did not continue to watch, but focused his eyes on the giant gray wolf. The wolves below have not separated yet, and Augustus is not in a hurry, just following them quietly in the sky. He was far enough away from the ground that he didn't have to worry about being spotted by the wolves below. Even if they looked up, they would only see a small red dot flying in the sky. Is there a problem with a flying monster flying in the sky in such a huge underground world? This is no problem. Chapter 55. Ouch! The leading white wolf stopped suddenly and let out a low growl from the wolf's kiss. Seeing the Wolf King stop, all the gray wolves also stopped. It should be safe here. There are still many newly born female wolves and wolf pups in the den that need to be fed, but they have not hunted any decent prey today. The fleeting feeling of gaze just now made him feel vaguely uneasy. But thinking about the little wolf cubs waiting to be fed in the wolf den, I immediately made a decision in my heart. The wolf cubs are still in the growth stage, and they must not stop eating meat. A low roar came from the White Wolf King's throat. Upon hearing the Wolf King's instructions, 30 gray giant wolves walked up to the White Wolf King and lay down. They responded in a low voice in their throats, then stood up again, turned around and rushed into the stone forest. After rushing into the stone forest, the giant gray wolves separated. The Wolf King's order is for them to go out to search for prey. It is naturally the most efficient to separate. They are not unfamiliar with this kind of instructions. In terms of individual strength, they are not strong, but in terms of speed, as wind-attributed monsters, they have always been difficult to match in this stone forest. On the clouds, August quietly stared at the scattered gray wolves below. They're separated. Well, we can hunt. Lying on the back of the fiery red dragon, Angia propped up the dragon's body, and a pair of slender dragon wings gracefully unfolded on her back. By the way, try not to use magic when killing these wolves, just use physical combat. Those giant lizards are physically enhanced monsters. Lusua, let's take action directly. August's dragon body shook, shaking Angia off his back, and then his dragon wings fluttered and dived directly towards the stone forest below. Of course he knew not to use magic power. After all, this was a frame-up. The blue dragon wings spread out. After glancing at Augustus, who had already dived down first, the dragon wings that had spread out on his back flapped, and the young blue dragon swooped down from the sky. But the direction of her dive was to the right, not in the same direction as August. Two giant gray wolves were running side by side in the intricate stone forest. At this moment, their figures were suddenly shrouded in black shadows. As wind monsters, they are very sensitive to wind. Feeling the sound of wind above their heads, the two running gray giant wolves raised their heads and looked back. A pair of red dragon claws full of strong muscles were immediately reflected in the green wolf eyes. Woo! The two giant gray wolves let out frightened whimpers and clamped their tails directly between their hind legs. Poof! The sharp dragon claws pierced directly into the heads of the two giant gray wolves. Rustle! The two giant gray wolves died without even having time to utter a cry. The wolf's head was pressed into the ground by the dragon's claws and rubbed, and a bloodline stretched 5 or 6 meters from the ground before stopping. Perfect landing. August, who held two giant gray wolves in his dragon's kiss, lowered his head. 4. Angia should be able to hunt at least 2, and there are only 6 in total. If it's not enough, you have to kill at least 20 of them. There was a sound of wind and a familiar smell above my head. Lifting the dragon's head, Angia saw a giant gray wolf in the dragon's mouth. There was also a giant gray wolf in each of its 2 front paws. The blue dragon wings were flapping vigorously, just like a mosquito. You could tell at a glance. Loaded to the limit. August watched quietly as Angia landed in front of him. The slightly thick blue hind paws fell to the ground, and the 2 giant gray wolves acted as pads for the front paws. After landing smoothly, Angia raised the dragon's head and looked at Augustus in front of her. There were 2 dragons in its mouth and 2 in its claws. Is this guy that fast? It took less than 3 minutes to hunt 4 of them. Augustus noticed the change in Angia's eyes. Did he regard this hunting as a competition? As expected, Angia's competitive spirit is very strong. But now it seems that I am still slightly better. The red vertical pupils spread with joy. Snored. This guy's smile was really annoying, and his blue vertical pupils were slightly condensed. 7. It seems a bit not enough. Augustus opened his dragon's kiss, and the 2 giant gray wolves that were already dead fell directly to the ground. It's really not enough, but we can still continue hunting. As for these few, the red dragon's head was lowered, and Augustus looked at the 2 giant gray wolves lying on the ground under his paws. Let's find a nearby stone pillar to place it first. Good. Hearing Angia's response, Augustus lowered his dragon's head and once again brought the 2 giant wolves into the dragon's kiss. Seeing August taking action, Angia stretched out her dragon claws and prepared to stuff a giant wolf into the dragon's kiss. However, at this moment, a strong flaming red dragon claw stretched out and pressed down on the gray giant wolf in front of her, the sharp claws piercing directly into the flesh. Hooking the giant gray wolf, August pushed it directly into the dragon's kiss. He was big enough to hold 3 giant gray wolves in his mouth with ease. Of course, I'm not helping Angia. I'm just trying to prevent this guy's excessive physical exertion from affecting the rest of the hunt. Right, that is it. Ignoring the gaze cast by Angia, she stretched out her strong dragon claws to hook up the 2 giant wolves. The broad dragon wings on her back spread out, and the dragon claws left the ground and started to rise directly. The most common thing in this stone forest is stone pillars. It is not difficult to find a platform to place the wolf corpse. Watching the fiery red dragon body begin to rise, the blue vertical pupils condensed slightly. That's super unnecessary. I don't need your help. The sharp dragon claws pierced into the wolf corpse without mercy, and the blue dragon wings on its back spread out. Based on the principle of proximity, Augustus chose the nearest large stone pillar to land. Landing smoothly on the platform, the dragon's kiss opened and the 3 wolf corpses fell onto the stone platform. Then she watched quietly as Angia landed in front of her. Okay, let's continue hunting. A hint of dissatisfaction flashed across his blue vertical pupils. This guy August can't be so lucky every time. This time I will definitely hunt more than this guy. Huh. The blue dragon wings spread out and Angia jumped directly from the platform. Seeing the blue dragon body disappear from sight, the red vertical pupils condensed slightly. Angia seemed to be very motivated. But it's good to be motivated, and the more you hunt, the more likely your plan will be to succeed. Thinking that Augustus also unfolded his dragon wings, he rushed out of the stone platform with his dragon claws and jumped down. Two young dragons, one red and one blue, started killing again in the stone forest. The underground in the stone forest is very complicated, but to Augustus it makes no difference whether those giant wolves are hiding or not. The smell of those giant wolves was very strong in the air, and he only had to follow the smell to find the next giant gray wolf. 21. Chapter 56. In the sky, a round-looking white dragon vigorously flapped its pair of thick dragon wings. Sniff, sniff. The two large nostrils on the round white dragon head shrank slightly. The next second, the bright white vertical pupils spread with joy. I smelled the smell of Augusto and Ingiero, and there was also the smell of food. As if the dragon wings were folded, Kalea began to dive downwards. Food. It's really food. Seeing the food on the stone platform below, Kalea flapped her dragon wings vigorously, and her diving speed instantly increased by half. But when we were about to approach the stone platform, we saw the stone platform getting closer and closer. Wait, I can't stop. Ouch! The white dragon head landed first, then the dragon body. The huge inertia caused the dragon body to continue to slide forward. It didn't stop until it slid in front of the piled-up giant wolves. Smelling the meaty aroma emanating from the giant wolf in front of him, the bright white vertical pupils spread rapidly in an instant, and there was no need to get up. The white dragon's kiss opened directly and bit the back of the giant wolf in front of him. The sharp dragon teeth easily tore off a large piece of flesh and blood. So delicious. The chubby dragon claws propped up the dragon's body. Kalea buried the dragon's head and started eating continuously. After hunting 5 giant wolves again, Augustus began his return journey. As soon as he flew close to the stone platform, Augustus saw the familiar figure lying on the giant wolf and eating. It's Kalea who's back, and it seems she has found the lair of the horned lizards. The dragon claw landed smoothly on the stone platform, and the red dragon wings spread out on its back slowly closed. Augustus let go of the 2 giant wolves held in the dragon's kiss, and the dragon's tail was also loosened. Kalea, who was cooking in front, was so focused that she didn't notice his landing at all. The flaming red dragon head scanned the platform. The wolf corpses on the platform were divided into 2 piles, one big one and one small one. This was Angia's intention. Augustus could tell that Angia seemed to regard this hunting as a competition. But looking at it now, I was still slightly better in this competition. Even if he brought back 5 in this round, he had hunted a total of 16 giant gray wolves. On the other hand, Angia only hunted 9. If you want to compare with me, Angia like you is still far behind. The red dragon's kiss split happily, and its strong dragon claws stepped forward. When she was less than 3 or 4 meters away from Kalea, she seemed to notice something. Kalea, who was immersed in eating, stopped. Then she raised the round dragon head and looked behind. Seeing the familiar fiery red dragon body, the vigilance in the bright white vertical pupils disappeared immediately, and the vertical pupils quickly spread. August, are you back? The internal organs of this food are delicious. Do you want to try it? After saying that, Kalea raised her paw, and in the bloody fat paw was a half-eaten heart. Most of the round white dragon head was stained with blood, as were its claws, and most of the thick white scales on its chest were stained red. TSK, why does this idiot always fail when he is doing his job? Looking at the heart that idiot by handed over, it was still stained with some frost. It was obvious that it was the saliva of idiot by. There was an undisguised disgust in his red vertical pupils. I won't eat it. You can eat it yourself. That's great. When Augustus refused, Kalea immediately stuffed the heart in her claws into the dragon's kiss. While chewing, the fat, all-like white dragon tail on the back couldn't stop swinging back and forth. The happy mood is completely reflected in this tail. Glancing at the white fool's tail, Augustus raised his dragon's head and looked down at the sky in front of him. A small blue dot was quickly approaching here. It's Angia. She's back too. In sight, Angia's dragon claws each held 2 giant gray wolves. Did you only hunt 2? It seems that Angia is not very lucky this time. The two giant gray wolves, including the ones in front of them, were 11, and counting his own 16, 27 of the 30 gray giant wolves that came out to search for prey died, and most of the wolves died. This level of casualties is, well, enough to make the wolves lose their minds. Jia. Then all you need to do is throw a batch of wolf carcasses into the lair of the horned lizards, and you can sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight. After clearing his mind, Augustus glanced at Angia, who landed next to him. What made Long regretful was that those blue vertical pupils still looked so calm and unruffled. Although this is the case on the surface, this Angia is definitely not like this in her heart. Just like the last dream, this Angia has always been different from what she looks like. After putting down the two prey, Angia stepped forward and stopped in front of August. There are no gray wolves in the stone forest anymore. They seem to have sensed something is wrong and have started running towards the wolves. It's time for us to take the next step. Well, you're right, but before that, let's dig out the life crystal cores of these wolves. The wolf corpse can be used as bait, but the life core must be left behind. The blue dragon's head moved slightly, and then Angia stretched out her claws to grab a wolf corpse and dragged it in front of her. Having hunted so many wolves, she was already familiar with the location of the life crystal core of the giant wolf. The sharp dragon claws cut through the giant wolf. The dragon's claws reached into the wolf's neck, and a life crystal core the size of a tennis ball, covered in blood, was pulled out. Seeing that Angia was already busy, Augustus also started digging out crystal cores. Kalea, who stopped eating, also wisely joined the crystal core digging team. Not long after, 27 life crystal nuclei piled up into a small pile. The three young dragons lay in front of the life crystal core, showing a triangular posture. Augustus glanced at Baifool and Angia respectively, both of whom looked at him eagerly. Very good. I am very satisfied. Facing the gazes of the two dragons, Augustus stretched out his claws and began the familiar distribution. One for Angia, one for me, and one for Kalea. Soon, all 27 life crystal nuclei were distributed. There were 3 piles of life crystal nuclei, and the one in front of Augustus was obviously higher than the other 2 piles. Angia was not surprised at all by this distribution result. She silently stretched out her paws to hug the life crystal cores in front of her, and then threw them one by one into the dragon's kiss like jelly beans. Kalea looked at the life crystal core in front of her, and then at the one in front of August Ao. Why did she always feel that August Ao's distribution was not so fair? Okay, eat quickly, Kalea. After eating, you have to lead the way. You will take us to the horned lizard's lair. Ouch, the immature Lolita lost its previous vitality, and Kalea lowered her dragon head and began to chew on the life crystal core. Well, this idiot has become a lot more knowledgeable. He had already noticed Kalea's gaze just now. If this idiot was not sensible, then he, Augustus, would definitely not be polite either. It just so happens that my tail hasn't twitched for a long time, and it's a little itchy. Chapter 57. Kacha. After eating comes action. Augustus held 2 giant wolves in his paws, 2 were placed in front of him, and 2 were hooked on his tails. Kalea and Angia carried 2 of them in various ways, and the rest were all concentrated. In the middle of the stone platform, looking at the piled-up giant wolves, Augustus showed a hint of regret in his red vertical pupils. Although I really don't want to waste it, the giant wolf carcasses left behind must be destroyed directly. There wasn't much time left for them. The wolves must have discovered something strange, and it was obviously impossible to carry it back and forth. It wouldn't do to just leave them alone. The smell of blood emitted by these wolf corpses was too strong and would definitely be smelled by the White Wolf King. After all, that guy seemed a bit special. No matter how he looked at it, Augustus felt that the guy didn't look like an ordinary monster. Every time he saw him, he would immediately run away. So to be cautious, there is only one option: destroy the food. The red vertical pupils began to condense, and Augustus opened his dragon's kiss, and the red dragon's breath, wrapped in white flames, spurted out. The surrounding temperature rose instantly. The dragon's breath mixed with the breath of plunder covered the wolf corpse and started burning instantly. The hot dragon's breath turned the wolf corpse first to gray, then to black, and finally to white ashes, all in just a few seconds. Augustus, what are you doing? Why are you burning all this food? Kalea asked in confusion, looking at the food that was being burned by the flames. Her bright white vertical pupils showed an anxious look. These are all delicious foods. Just when Kalea couldn't help but move forward, Angia stretched out her paw and pressed it directly on Kalea's head. Shut up, Kalea. August did the right thing. But These are all food. This white idiot struggled with great strength, and Angia knew that she couldn't hold this guy down for long. By destroying these foods, we will get more food, and the new food will definitely be more delicious, just like the Blue Crab King. Delicious, Kalea immediately stopped struggling. Although some time had passed, the delicious meaty texture of the Blue Crab King was still lingering in her mind. That was the most delicious food she had ever eaten. Feeling that Bai Fool was no longer struggling, Angia slowly let go of the dragon's claws. Even after being released, Kalea still lay on the ground. Sure enough, the easiest way to deal with this guy is to eat. A flash of understanding flashed in the blue vertical pupils. Kalea fell silent. She was lying on the ground, looking at the bits of burned food in front of her with her bright white vertical eyes, still showing some reluctance, but thinking that by burning these foods, she would get the same food as the blue-backed Crab King. Kalea. Crystal silk threads flowed out from the white dragon's kiss, and the moment the saliva dripped onto the ground, it condensed into frost. Watching the last wolf corpse turn into ashes in the dragon's breath, Augustus slowly closed the dragon's kiss, and the dragon's breath stopped pouring. The smell of blood in the air has basically dispersed, but the burnt smell has become very strong. In this case, there should be no problem. But just to be on the safe side, let's wait and see. Inspiration from time. Let me go. This time, the revelation of time is not a text but a visual revelation. In the stone forest, the white wolf king with bloodshot, emerald green eyes was running with a group of white wolves. There was a drag mark on the road where they ran, and the mark was mixed with wolf hair and blood. The wolves ran all the way to a big stone pillar. There was a cave in the big stone pillar. At the entrance of the cave, a group of horned lizards were biting the wolf corpse. Ouch! With an angry howl, the white wolf king led the pack of wolves in a charge. The screen is interrupted. Augustus broke the dragon's kiss with satisfaction. Jejejia. Angia's plan is really feasible. Although the scene is interrupted at key points, there is no doubt that the White Wolf King must have had S*X with the horned lizard in the end. Isn't this exactly what I want? Let's land first. After greeting him, Augustus lowered his head, opened his dragon kiss, bit the two giant wolves, then spread his wings and took the lead to fly down, looking at the ground below. When Kalea and Angia saw this, they spread their dragon wings and followed. After landing smoothly on the ground, August stretched out his dragon claws and gently scratched his two claws directly on the wolf corpse. The sharp dragon claws cut directly on the wolf corpse as easily as cutting tofu. Two terrifying claw marks appeared on the wolf corpse. The slender and winding dragon tail rolled up the wolf corpse rotated, and the tip of the tail like a Mitsubishi Army thorn quickly stabbed the wrapped wolf corpse several times, and the wolf blood flowed out from the hole dug out. After doing all this, August looked at Kalea on the right. Lead the way, Kalea, to the lairs of those horned lizards. Ouch! After looking at the road in front of him, he raised his chubby white dragon claw and scratched the round dragon head. What's going on with this idiot? Is it because you don't remember the way? It's itchy. My tail is starting to itch. But August, I only remember the road in the sky. The red vertical pupils that had condensed into vertical lines spread slightly. What? Turns out I remember the way. Kalea looked longingly at Augustus in front of her. The round dragon body made her look silly no matter what posture she made. Then you fly into the sky and lead the way. Remember to fly slowly. If you see us falling, stop and wait. Ouch! I understand. Well, go ahead. Once you finish this job, the life crystal core tube will be full. Ouch! The childish and sweet Lolita sound was full of energy, and Kalea raised her round dragon head high. It was obvious that this sentence, full of life core tube, directly filled up her morale bar. The chubby dragon wings covered with white dragon scales spread out and flapped. Watching Kalea fly into the sky, Augustus glanced at Angia who was following him. Under Angia's dragon claws, the two giant wolves had been stretched open. Blood mixed with internal organs flowed out of it, but it did not fall out because it was still connected to the flesh. This Angia really saves me trouble as always. Let's go. The blue dragon head moved silently. After receiving the response, Augustus picked up the two giant wolf corpses again and started walking on the ground with his paws. Sha-sha. The corpse of the giant wolf made a rustling sound as it rubbed against the road, while a trail of blood was also left on the ground. Although he couldn't see Kalea's figure, Augustus could feel Kalea's breath in the sky and just follow Kalea's breath. It probably took about half an hour to walk in the stone forest. An open area suddenly appeared in the stone forest in front. In front of the open area was a huge stone pillar like a hill, and there was a cave under the stone pillar. Looking at this familiar scene, August knew that the destination of this trip had arrived. There was no horned lizard stationed at the entrance of the cave, but there was a familiar smell inside the cave, the smell of the giant lizard. Chapter 58. I smelled it. It was the scent of the horned lizard. The fiery red vertical pupils spread with joy, and a good show was about to begin. Then let me kick it off. Augustus could feel the dragon's heart beating powerfully in his chest, becoming very active. Evil is the nature of the five-color dragon, and planning a conspiracy against the five-color dragon is doing something that can bring pleasure to himself. This it is the nature of the five-color dragon. The fiery red vertical pupils were slightly condensed, showing a semi-diffuse attitude. He likes this feeling. Call. The broad dragon wings covered with fiery red dragon scales spread out and fluttered, and the dragon body directly stuck to the ground and flew at low altitude. The skin and flesh of the two giant gray wolves that were dragged to the ground were worn out in a short time due to the sudden increase in friction. Two long blood stains were immediately dragged out on the ground, and the smell of blood in the air becomes more intense. When they flew close to the cave, they swung their strong dragon claws, and the two giant gray wolves slammed down on the stone wall of the stone pillar. The huge force made the two giant gray wolves seem to stick to it, and they fell down after a full second or two. At the same time, they also left two irregular blood clots on the stone wall. The dragon's snout and the giant wolf hooked on its tail were released at the same time. Smelling the strong smell of blood in the air, he stared quietly at the entrance of the dark cave in front of him with red vertical pupils. "Jia, I hope you little lizards like this gift." The red dragon kiss slowly opened a gap. Huh. There was a sound of wind nearby, and then the bodies of two giant gray wolves fell. "August, this should be fine. Well, let's go up there." With a reply, Augustus unfolded his dragon wings, flapped his dragon body, and climbed into the sky at high speed. Just after climbing to a height of several hundred meters, August saw Kalea, a white fool, holding two giant gray wolves in her arms and munching on them. This idiot really likes to eat. More than these two is not too much, and less is not too much. It just so happens that these two wolf corpses can be used as food for enjoying the scene. Flying in front of by Fool, the giant gray wolf on the left had its head chewed off by Fool White. The wolf carcass with only its neck was still stained with a touch of white frost. Not surprisingly, it must have been the saliva of Fool White. The giant gray wolf on the right had its head eaten away. The wolf is still intact. There was a look of disgust in the red vertical pupils. This white idiot was really disgusted by eating something. There's no choice at all. The strong dragon claw stretched out and directly grabbed the giant gray wolf on Kalea's right. Ouch! The bright white vertical pupils quickly condensed, but when they saw clearly whose claws were stretched out, the white vertical pupils immediately spread out again. "August, you're back." The sharp dragon claw dug into the wolf corpse, and the strong dragon claw pulled back. Because she was holding the food tightly in her arms, Kalea was pulled forward, and then she reacted and loosened her paws. An obvious look of reluctance could be seen from her eyes staring at the wolf corpse. "Come on, let's go up a little higher." The current position is only a few hundred meters below. If a giant lizard or giant wolf looks up, it will definitely find three flying monsters of different colors flying in the sky. Ouch! Augustus' underground dragon head glanced below. The giant wolf had not yet appeared, but two horned lizards had crawled out of the cave entrance. Apparently, these horned lizards had smelled the smell of blood and started crawling out. Gotta get airborne soon. Just when Augustus was about to flap his dragon wings, he suddenly felt his back sink twice in a row. The red dragon head glanced at his back from the corner of his eye and saw that Bai Fool and Anjia had landed on the back of his broad dragon body and were folding their dragon wings. These two guys, what are they doing to me? But forget it, I'm in a good mood now, so I won't compete with these two housekeepers. Huh. The unfolded dragon wings flapped vigorously, and August began to climb upward. Augustus didn't calculate the exact height he had climbed, and he couldn't calculate it, but the stone forest below seemed to have become only a small dot. The red vertical pupils stared quietly at the horned lizard below that looked no different from a dot. This height should be sufficient. The dragon's wings remained flat, and the dragon's body stopped smoothly in the air. Another batch of actors haven't entered the venue yet, so they still have to wait a while. Thinking of August, he lowered his dragon head and bit into the giant gray wolf in his arms. Woo! A giant gray wolf ran with its tail between its legs and let out a frightened whimper in its throat. In front of him were the wolves. Seeing the familiar pure white figure, the giant gray wolf slowly raised its tail between its legs. His king was very strong. At least in this stone forest, he was a well-deserved king. The white wolf king also noticed the giant gray wolf running back. The entire wolf pack is a wind attribute monster, so the distance of 50 or 60 meters is not far for them. And the giant gray wolf ran to the white wolf king in less than a few seconds. The giant gray wolf stopped and lay directly on the ground, with its belly touching the ground and its head touching the ground. Woo! A low roar came from the throat of the giant gray wolf. After listening to the tribe's report, the white wolf king suddenly raised his wolf head, a pair of green wolf eyes showing an angry look. How long has it been since he became a four-ringed monster? The tribe he leads is the king in this stone forest. There will be almost no losses. Even the giant lizard has acquiesced and is willing to live in peace with them. And now what did he hear? The Wind Wolf clan was actually hunted. When did the Wind Wolf clan become prey in this stone forest? Ouch! The White Wolf King raised his head and roared. After hearing the king's order, the giant gray wolf that had been lying on the ground got up from the ground and turned around and rushed towards the stone forest again. This time, his running posture was very confident, and the wolf's tail and body formed a straight line. With the leader leading the way, all the giant gray wolves started running, and they surrounded the White Wolf King in the middle. Not long after running, the White Wolf King smelled the smell of blood. This smell is also mixed with the scent of the ethnic group. The wolf claws exerted force, and the White Wolf King accelerated and quickly passed the leading gray wolf. Faced with the sudden change, the wolves reacted very quickly. They immediately turned around and followed the Wolf King running in front. After running for about 10 meters, a drag mark appeared on the road ahead, with some blood and claw marks around the mark. Paw. Staring at the claw marks on the ground, the White Wolf King automatically thought of those big horned lizards. The only ones in the stone forest whose claws can be so sharp are the horned lizards. Ouch! The White Wolf King raised his wolf head to the sky and roared. This is the call to rally. After the long roar, the White Wolf King waited on the spot. Within a few minutes, the two giant gray wolves returned to the pack. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes passed, and still no wolf returned. Chapter 59. The White Wolf King stared straight at the drag marks in front of him. The claws pressed to the ground became harder and harder. Click! The rock formations collapsed under the weight. As time continued to pass, 10 minutes later, there was still no wolf seen coming back. Bloodshot eyes had appeared in the eyes of the White Wolf King's green wolf. 30 wolves. In the end, only 3 were left. Ouch! Accompanied by a long and angry roar, the White Wolf King took the lead in running along the dragging traces. In the sky, the giant wolf in August's arms had been chewed until only its last 2 legs remained. The red dragon's snout opened, revealing 2 rows of full and sharp dragon teeth. A strong sense of gaze came from the side. The red vertical pupils turned, and the peripheral vision swept back. A round white dragon came into view. As if noticing his gaze, the round white dragon head came closer. Augustus, are these wolf legs delicious? Looking at the crystal ambergris hanging on the white dragon's kiss, Augustus opened the dragon's kiss and bit it down. August, chew, chew. The throat moved to swallow the meat in the dragon's kiss, and the dragon's head turned to look at the white fool. Well, it tastes delicious. Ouch, then can you give me some points? Kalea blinked her bright white vertical pupils and looked pitifully at Augustus in front of her. She and Angia had eaten the giant gray wolf just now, so she wasn't full. The look of anticipation in his bright white vertical pupils was almost beyond words. Looking at this white idiot, Augustus raised the wolf's leg that had been bitten off in his right paw and silently took another bite. Kalea. The crystal ambergris stretched longer and longer, and when it was about to drip, the frost condensed, and the crystal ambergris quickly turned into an ice skate. The dragon body lay down completely. Angia, enjoying the warmth of the fiery red dragon scales under her body, silently raised her eyelids. A pair of blue vertical pupils stared quietly at the 2 dragons interacting in front of them. Although there had been a precedent, she was still a little curious whether Augustus would give the food in his mouth to this idiot this time. If it were a normal red dragon, he would never give it, but Augustus is no ordinary red dragon. His bloodline is guaranteed to be the bloodline of the Dragon King, just like her. The wolf legs and the claws were eaten in 2 or 3 bites. Looking at the white idiot in front of him, Augustus transferred the wolf leg in his left paw to his right paw and lifted it up to Kalea. Meet. The bright white vertical pupils spread happily. Kalea raised the chubby white dragon claw, but just when she was about to touch the wolf's leg, Augustus moved the paw, and the wolf's leg turned to the right. Kalea immediately turned to the right. Left, left, left. Lift. Kalea's chubby hindpaws began to pat. Sure enough, it was fun teasing this cute white fool. Enjoying this pleasure, August's fiery red vertical pupils suddenly spread with pleasure. Ouch! A wolf howl suddenly sounded below. When Augustus heard the wolf howling, his red vertical pupils instantly condensed into vertical lines. Here we go. The drama is finally about to begin. The wolf leg in the claws was thrown directly at Kalea. The dragon's head turned and stared directly at the earth below. Facing the big wolf legs thrown at her, Kalea opened her dragon's mouth to catch them, and the fat, awl-like tail behind her quickly swung left and right. Did you give it again? Angia silently withdrew her gaze, and then poked out the dragon's head from the right side of the flattened red dragon wings. She just heard the howl of wolves coming from below. The wolves have obviously found the monitor lizard's lair. On the ground, the white wolf king stopped, and the dragging traces had reached the end. And ahead is the monitor lizard's lair. At the entrance of the monitor lizard's lair, a group of horned lizard cubs, less than 1 meter in size, are eating and tearing at the corpse of a giant wolf. There are several adult horned lizards nearby. Guard. Seeing this scene, the anger in the white wolf king's heart could no longer be suppressed. These damn lizards actually hunted his pack. Damn these guys. The white wolf king opened his wolf kiss, and a 20-meter-long cyan wind blade was condensed and launched almost instantly. The wind blade carries the wind pressure that tears everything apart, and the sand and gravel on the ground along the way are picked up by the wind blade. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere, and the wind blade tore apart a group of horned lizard cubs that were eating wolf carcasses and tore apart the dead giant wolf. Boom! Wow! The wind blade tore apart a group of horned lizard cubs and then continued to bombard the stone pillar. In an instant, rubble flew everywhere, and after the smoke dispersed, a 20-meter-long cut mark appeared on the stone pillar. The two guarding horned lizards were furious when they saw all the cubs being killed, and quickly rushed towards the white wolf king with 4 paws. However, what greeted them were dozens of giant gray wolves. Faced with this kind of righteous gang fight, the two horned lizards, which were obviously not very intelligent, were torn into pieces by the wolf claws in an instant. Tap! Suddenly the ground trembled slightly, as if something huge was moving. Feeling the tremor of the earth, the obviously intelligent giant gray wolves all quickly gathered around the white wolf king, forming a circle to protect the white wolf king. Facing the protection of the pack, the white wolf king walked out of the wolf pack with his claws, staring straight at the giant hole in front. A pair of scarlet gazes lit up in the dark cave, just like a pair of red lanterns lit up in the darkness, but this lantern might be a little too big. Tap! The tremors in the earth became more and more obvious. A large claw with sharp black claws covered with cyan scales stepped out of the darkness, followed by a triangular lizard head, and the giant lizard completely walked out of the cave. The huge body is covered with thick green scales. It moves like a hill, and its size alone brings a strong sense of oppression. Seeing such a large opponent, some of the giant gray wolf's claws began to tremble slightly, but when they looked at the white back standing in front, their claws immediately stopped trembling. The fear in the green pupils also turned fierce. Climbing out of the cave, the monitor lizard stared quietly at the old rival in front of him with its red eyes. If this guy dared to come to his door like this in the past, he would kill him and eat him directly, but not today. That damn flying monster's attack is a bit special. The injury on his back has only grown a thin layer of scales so far. This recovery speed can be said to be ridiculously low. Hiss, hiss. A low growl came from the lizard's throat. This guy actually didn't attack directly. The white wolf king, who was already ready to attack, heard that the giant lizard was just warning. As an old rival, White Wolf knows this giant lizard very well. This guy has always been very domineering due to his size, but today this giant lizard seems to be a little different. Wait, his back. Chapter 60. The White Wolf King suddenly noticed a key point, that is, the scales on the monitor lizard's back looked very light in color, and the red flesh could be vaguely seen under the light scales. This guy is hurt. A flash of green light flashed in Green Wolf's eyes. The White Wolf King turned his head and looked at the group. Ouch! This time, The giant gray wolves who received the order showed obvious hesitation in their green eyes. After a brief hesitation, a gray wolf turned around and started running towards the stone forest. If there is one, there will be two, and the wolves rushed towards the stone forest. The monitor lizard was watching this scene with a look of satisfaction in its red vertical pupils. Sure enough, these guys don't have the guts to provoke me. The White Wolf King moved his claws forward. The moment his claws landed, his body exploded with force and speed and turned into a white afterimage. The White Wolf King reappeared on the back of the monitor lizard. Standing on the back of the giant lizard, the Wind Wolf King raised his wolf claw without hesitation, pointed it at the thin blue scales under his body, and then dropped his claw. Poof! The thin scales were completely unable to resist the sharp wolf claws, and blood spattered out. Letting the warm blood splatter on the wolf's head, the White Wolf King stretched out his tongue and licked the blood splattered on the wolf's head. The green wolf eyes showed excitement. Sure enough, my guess was correct. This guy was injured and it hadn't fully healed yet. The malice in the green wolf eyes no longer held back at this moment. Hiss! The pain coming from the back caused the monitor lizard's red vertical pupils to instantly turn a layer of blood. However, the giant wolf standing on his back took the lead in attacking. The White Wolf King's body began to grow in size, and in an instant his body became a 60-meter giant. Although it is only half the size of a monitor lizard, sometimes it is not the larger size that gives the advantage. The wolf claws were raised and aimed at the back of the monitor lizard beneath him. Poof! The thin scales that the monitor lizard had just grown split open again under this claw, and the horrific wound stretched from the cervical spine to the tail cone, and blood continued to gush out like a river. The huge pain directly blinded the giant lizard's red vertical pupils with a layer of blood, and its huge body rolled on the spot. This roll directly prevented the White Wolf King from occupying his back. The moment it turned over, the giant lizard pounced on the White Wolf King. The two behemoths began the most primitive melee fight, with fangs and claws all waving at each other unceremoniously. The sound of the two fighting made the surrounding earth tremble. The blood quickly soaked their bodies and the ground, and the soil turned black. The smell of blood in the air was so strong that it condensed into blood mist. Some monitor lizards crawled out of the cave and wanted to step forward to help, but as soon as they stepped forward, they were crushed into a ball of meat by two huge bodies. In the sky, August watched indifferently as the two behemoths fought on the ground below. No matter who kills whom of these two guys, they will definitely be seriously injured. Just like the picture given by the revelation of time, the ultimate winner of this hunt will be Augustus. But this White Wolf King is indeed unusual. It can enlarge its body to more than 10 times. This kind of talent does not seem to be awakened by Warcraft, but it is a bit like, believe in God? There are two types of gods in the inheritance: gods of faith and gods of divinity. Belief in God is the gradual growth of accumulated faith, and the words of the Godhead are the existence of laws that condense themselves. One of the two relies on external forces to grow, and the other relies on one's own efforts. As for the pros and cons, they are pretty much the same, but belief in God has a very obvious weakness, that is, believers. Once there is a large-scale loss of believers, the power of belief in God will also weaken. In other words, does this White Wolf King have faith? But in general, only intelligent life can gather in faith. It seems that intelligent life exists in this underground world. If that's the case, then this hunting is really a big harvest. The unexpected harvest made Augustus burst into red dragon kisses with joy. The flesh and blood of the god of faith carries divine power, which is much more nourishing than the flesh of Warcraft that only has magic power. Although this White Wolf King is still far from becoming a god, he still has divine power in his body. Of course, this is all just speculation for now, but soon this guess should get a definite answer soon. Red vertical pupils stared indifferently at the fight below. The fight was obviously coming to an end, and the attack frequency of both the giant lizard and the giant wolf began to slow down significantly. Boom! The monitor lizard's hill-like body fell limply to the ground. After all, he was a little close to being injured. The huge wound on his back was used by the White Wolf King as a breakthrough point. In the melee fight just now, most of the White Wolf King's attacks were focused on removing the internal organs from this hole. His body seemed to be too damaged. It was obviously much shriveled up, and there were internal organs scattered on the ground. Most of them belonged to the monitor lizard, and a small number belonged to the White Wolf King. The White Wolf King, who was pressing on the monitor lizard, slowly raised his wolf body while breathing heavily. Propping up his body, The White Wolf King looked at the giant lizard beneath him that had completely lost its movement. He won the battle. Hiss! Horned lizards emerged from the dark cave one after another. Their target was very clear, the White Wolf King. Kill this White Wolf King and avenge their king. However, the White Wolf King's reaction was even faster. The Wolf King opened his wolf kiss, and the airflow gathered inside and stretched. Just in an instant, a giant wind blade over 100 meters was condensed and launched. The violent wind blade swept towards the lizard group with the power of crushing everything. The invisible wind blade swept into the cave. Wow! The sound of the rock wall being cut. Poof! The sound of flesh being cut. After using up the last of his strength, the White Wolf King fell down weakly, his heavy eyelids slowly closed, and he exhaled a steady breath from his nostrils. Not long after, 10 horned lizards crawled out of the cave again. The horned lizard that climbed out of the hole locked its eyes on the figure lying on the body of its king and started to move forward. Soon the first horned lizard crawled in front of the giant lizard's tall body. Just when the horned lizard was about to climb up the body of its own king. Ouch! Along with a wolf howl, a giant gray wolf jumped out and directly pounced on the gray monitor lizard that was about to climb up. Then more giant gray wolves rushed over. Hearing the clang's voice, the White Wolf King, who was lying on the back of the monitor lizard, opened his eyes slightly. The last remaining horned lizards below were all suppressed by the group, and the hunt was over. He, the Lord of Wind Spirits, is the final winner. Call. At this moment, there was a burst of sound in the sky. It's the sound of the wind being torn apart. Just as the White Wolf King was about to lift the wolf's head, a strong dragon claw pressed directly on his wolf's head. The terrifying force made him want to lift the wolf's head and hit it hard on the blood-stained scales of the monitor lizard. A 10-meter-long purple-red hot flame spear held by strong red dragon claws penetrated through the center of the wolf's head. Warm wolf blood spattered, and the White Wolf King almost lost his life before he could react. The dragon's claws on the flame spear loosened. Standing on the huge corpse of the White Wolf King, Augustus lowered his fiery red dragon head and stared coldly at the White Wolf King who had completely lost his life beneath him. You are wrong. I am the real hunter of this hunt. Chapter 61. A 2-ringed giant wolf leaped high into the air, stepping on invisible air currents and leaping back and forth in the air. In just an instant, the giant wolf jumped on the back of the giant lizard and opened its fanged wolf kiss to bite August. TSK, it really stinks. Facing the giant wolf that was charging towards him, Augustus focused his red vertical pupils with some displeasure. This guy's mouth really stinks. The distance was getting closer and closer, and when I saw the giant wolf's open wolf kiss, it was about to bite August's neck. Woo! The giant wolf's body paused, and a painful whimper came from its throat. A sharp dragon tail had pierced the abdomen of its body. The giant wolf's body twisted twice, then gradually lost its movement, and its body fell weakly. At this moment, more giant wolves imitated and rushed up, stampeding on the wind. A blue shadow flashed in the air, and the 2 wind-riding giant wolves paused. In the next second, the wolf heads fell from their necks. Compared to Anja's swiftness, Kalea seems much simpler and more straightforward. The chubby white dragon claw pressed the giant wolf's neck and exerted force directly. Click with a slight sound. The giant wolf immediately lost its life. Ouch! Kalea roared and dived directly into the wolves on the ground. The strong dragon claws basically had 1 claw for each wolf. Of course, not all the giant wolves were sitting still and waiting to die. The moment Kalea landed, the giant wolves started a righteous group fight. Windblade, claw, bite. There were more and more scars on the pure white dragon's body, but Kalea didn't seem to care about it at all. The chubby dragon claws directly aimed at a giant wolf and took a picture. Boom! The giant wolf's body was directly buried halfway into the soil under this claw. Lying on the body of the White Wolf King, August quietly watched the battle below. Although it's not the first time, it sure feels fresh every time I watch Kalea fight. The white fool who fights is completely devoid of his usual naivety, and his pair of white vertical pupils condensed into vertical lines have also lost their stupidity. There is only indifference and cruelty. The fighting Kalea and the normal Kalea can be said to be 2 extremes, but they're all cute. The fiery red vertical pupils expanded slightly, and the red dragon kiss split happily. Augustus never took action in this battle. The battle between Kalea and Angia was also very efficient. Within a few minutes, more than 20 giant wolves were all eliminated by the 2 dragons. The last few that tried to escape had their limbs cut off by Angia. It was obvious that Angia didn't like the escaping prey. She cut off the limbs of the escaping giant gray wolf and ignored it, leaving it to struggle on the ground and slowly die in pain and fear. After the battle, Kalea and Angia landed on the back of the giant lizard. The difference between the two is clear at a glance. No wounds can be seen on Zhuan Anjia's body. As for Baifu, her pure white dragon body is completely soaked in blood, and new flesh has begun to grow from the large and small wounds on her body. This idiot is truly a natural human shield. Augustus withdrew his gaze from Kalea and looked levelly at the two dragons in front of him. How are you two doing now? The moment Augustus asked, Kalea directly raised the chubby dragon claw stained with blood. It's great. These puppies are so weak. I don't even feel any pain. Angia glanced at Kalea, who was speaking out of the corner of her eye. How could this idiot say this when his whole body was covered in injuries? She wanted to take a rest if she could. The extremely fast flight in the battle just now had consumed most of her energy, but now this idiot's words made her confused. Augustus's intention in asking this question was also obvious. As expected, this guy would definitely instruct her and this white fool to carry food again. Okay, let's start moving the food. You move the small food back first, and finally we will move the big ones together, really? Facing the questioning look from Augustus, Angia nodded silently. No problem. Kalea's pair of bright white vertical pupils spread happily, and the fat awl-like tail behind her also began to swing from side to side. She loves carrying the food, and with so much food, I'm sure I'll be full for a while. The chubby dragon wings spread out, and Kalea flew directly down. After landing on the ground, Kalea began to carry them. She bit 2 of them in the dragon's kiss, picked up 2 of them in her claws, then spread her dragon wings and flew into the sky. Then Angia landed on the ground and picked up 1 with her left and right claws, then flew up into the sky and returned to the direction of the crab shell nest. Watching the 2 figures flying away, Augustus lowered his dragon head and looked at the dead white wolf king beneath him. Peeping through time. Let me take you away. This time's peek into time is the appearance of the picture. The White Wolf King is lying on an altar made of stones. In front of the altar are piled up the corpses of various beasts and monsters. Below the altar is a large square. A group of people are about 3 meters tall and strong. The skin is blue. The humanoid creature with an animal face is crawling on the ground. Blue Orc. There was a clear look in his red vertical pupils, and Augustus recognized what these intelligent creatures were at a glance. This can be regarded as an ancient wisdom. Blue orcs are a type of orc, but I remember that these blue orcs should be warriors in the inheritance. Why are these guys now also starting to believe in gods? It's quite different from what I remember. A blue orc with wrinkled skin but still strong body stood up from the ground. Unlike ordinary blue orcs, this blue orc was wearing a coat made of various colorful feathers, also wearing a necklace of animal teeth. With this attire, it is no surprise that this guy must be a priest. The next second this idea was confirmed. The gorgeously dressed blue orc walked to the steps of the altar and knelt down. His body was bent and his head was close to the ground for 5 or 6 seconds before he straightened his back. Great Lord of Wind Spirits, thank you for coming and thank you for your protection. Under your protection, there were a lot of sacrifices, and basically all of them were words of praise. These are all sacrifices prepared for you by your loyal followers. Please enjoy them. After the priest finished speaking, the White Wolf King opened his wolf mouth, bit into a beast on his body, tore it apart, and started eating. The screen cuts off. Gee, something doesn't seem right about this. First of all, the White Wolf King's condition seems not quite right. From the beginning to the end, the White Wolf King's performance was dull, and there was no trace of agility in his wolf eyes. It's like a puppet. The fiery red vertical pupils condensed slightly. That's interesting. What did these blue orcs do? But how did they control the White Wolf King? I'm really curious. Chapter 62. If I have the chance, I will definitely pay a visit to these blue orcs. As for now, August stretched out his dragon claw and grasped the flame spear that penetrated the White Wolf King's head. The dragon claw exerted force, and the flame spear was drawn out directly. There was no blood spattering out, but only a faint smell of barbecue. The White Wolf King's brain is obviously already in a mature state. August enjoyed the smell of meat. At the same time, interest arose in my heart. Well, it's been decided. After moving this White Wolf King back, I will personally paw it and cook the best barbecue. The rest of the time is waiting. Kalea and Anjia carried it back and forth for about 3 hours, and finally all the lizards and wolf carcasses were moved. Ogu, we finished moving. Kalea fell first, followed by Anjia. Facing Kalea, August stretched out his big paw and put it on Kalea's round dragon head. Well done. Hearing August's praise, the fat owl's tail behind Kalea suddenly swung from side to side. After casually praising by Fool, Augustus retracted his paw and glanced at Anjia. Anjia said nothing since landing. Looking over, Augustus quickly discovered the problem. Anjia's front paws were trembling slightly as they fell on the ground. The amplitude is very small, obviously trying to hide it. As if noticing August's gaze, the right wing covered with fine blue scales unfolded and then closed to directly cover the front of the body. Gee, Anjia is really a strong person in her life. You're tired when you're tired. I won't beat the dragon if I tell you. Withdrawing his gaze, Augustus looked at Kalea. You can tell at a glance that this guy is in good condition. The fat owl tail behind his, but is swinging like a windmill. His shiny white vertical pupils can be felt with just a glance. The hatchlings were a stark contrast. Kalea, do you still have physical strength now? August, I'm very strong. Even if I fight with those puppies, I can win. Very good. Idiot Bai is full of stamina, and he is worthy of being the tank that I appointed him to be. A sharp contrast to a certain blue dragon. August stretched out his big paw and stroked Kalea's round head in front of him. Although the white idiot in front of him was covered in blood, there was a saying that the big round head felt really good to the touch. Feeling the warm claws on the dragon's head, Kalea raised the dragon's head and rubbed it actively. August's paws are very warm, and the great lady Kalea likes them. Okay, Kalea, please move it with me first. Let's move this white wolf king back first. Anjia, please stay. We need a dragon to guard this place. We can move the giant lizard together at the end. No problem. Kalea raised her paw. There was a complicated look in the blue vertical pupils, and Augustus didn't take the opportunity to ridicule her, which she didn't expect. It really didn't look like a red dragon at all. After thinking about it, the blue dragon's head moved up and down gently twice honestly. The discussion is over. Augustus looked at the white wolf king beneath him. He raised his strong dragon claws and plunged deeply into the white wolf king's body. Kalea, I'll carry the front. You go to the back. Ouch. Kalea responded, then ran behind the white wolf king's body, imitating Augustus and piercing a pair of dragon claws into the flesh and blood of the wolf king's back. Are you ready? It's ready. Then take off. As August finished speaking, Kalea almost spread out her dragon wings with him. The dragon body began to rise slowly. It doesn't seem to be very heavy. Feeling the weight of the white wolf king under his body, Augustus had an estimate in his mind. This white wolf king looks like he can move even a dragon. It seems that I still underestimated my own strength. After taking off above the stone forest, the unfolded dragon wings flapped vigorously, and the speed began to increase steadily. After flying for about 10 minutes, there was a ladder pool ahead. The dragon wings flapped vigorously, and the speed increased again. Flying above the ladder pool, Augustus spread his dragon wings and stopped flapping, and the dragon body stopped. Kalea, get ready. You're about to release your claws. I'll count to 3 and we'll release them together. No problem. After getting a response, Augustus started counting directly. 1, 2, 3. August immediately let go of his claws. Ouch! At this time, Kalea suddenly exclaimed. Hearing the sound of panic, Augustus subconsciously looked down at Kalea. Kalea was still lying quietly on the fallen body of the White Wolf King. Augustus! Boom! The huge corpse of the White Wolf King hit the terraces hard, crushing many empty crab shells and sending water splashing high. As for Kalea, she was bounced up the moment the White Wolf King fell, and her round body rolled all the way from the corpse into the ladder pool before stopping. Ouch! Kalea sat upright and slumped in the ladder pool. Her 2 thick hind paws stretched forward, and her round dragon head swayed left and right. August landed in front of Kalea. Are you okay? Ouch, Aguayo. Why did you become so many? It can be seen that this white idiot is very dizzy. In this case, let this white idiot rest here. The 60-meter White Wolf King can be easily carried by him, so the 100-meter monitor lizard should also be no problem. You stay here and keep watch. Ouch, Kalea was still shaking her head while sitting in the pool. Taking one last look at the white fool, Augustus spread his dragon wings. Suddenly, Augustus noticed the ladder pool under his feet that was stained red with blood. Looking at the red water, Augustus realized how strong the smell of blood was in the air. With such a strong smell of blood, this white idiot Elon won't have any problems here, right? Forget it. Time peaks. You begin to care about Kalea, but this worry is unnecessary. Although the White Wolf King is dead, he is also the former king of this land, and his power is still there. Ordinary beasts and magical beasts will not dare to approach this place if they smell its scent. Of an area. Care about Kalea? How is it possible? I'm just worried that the food will be lost. This White Wolf King is the food ordered by me. Gee, this time revelation is getting more and more outrageous. Huh. The widespread dragon wings flapped vigorously, and August's dragon body sprinted directly into the sky. Returning to the horned lizard's lair, Augustus dropped his claws on the giant lizard. Seeing that Augustus was back, Angia was lying on the back of the giant lizard, holding up the dragon's body, her blue vertical pupils slightly condensed. Why is this guy Elon coming back? What about that white fool? It is obviously impossible for two dragons to move this giant lizard. Not counting its size, this giant lizard is hundreds of meters long. Chapter 63. Where's Kalea? I asked her to stay and look after the house. Home. The blue vertical pupils shrank into vertical lines in an instant. This guy would actually say such a thing. Home. She, Anja Gloria Freya, would never admit it. Home is a concept that only those fragile lower species have. She is a 5-color dragon, a powerful upper species with the blood of the Dragon King. So she doesn't need that ridiculous home. Augustus didn't notice the change in Anja's eyes, but looked at the monitor lizard corpse under him, his eyes wandering around. Neck? It's not very good on the lower claws, and it's not good on the back either. It's easy to tear. The dragon's body turned around, turning around on the same spot, and its eyes finally fell on the tail of the monitor lizard. You go down first. After speaking, Augustus, who had his back turned to Angia, spread out his dragon wings and flew towards the tail of the monitor lizard. The dragon's body slid all the way to the end of the giant lizard's tail. Its claws pierced directly into the tail's flesh, and its unfolded dragon wings flapped. Angia stared at August's back. A pair of blue dragon wings spread out on his back and flew up. She finally saw that Augustus was a bit overconfident. The blue vertical pupils shrank sharply, as if he had seen something incredible. This guy actually really flew. How powerful is he? Is this guy really a baby dragon like himself? This level of power is at least something only a young dragon can achieve. Crashing, the monitor lizard's body was dragged up bit by bit, and its body to the last head bit off the ground and began to rise into the air. Lifting into the sky above the stone forest, Augustus stood in the air with his dragon wings spread out. Carefully feel the weight in your paws. A bit heavy, but it is still within the acceptable range. The dragon wings flapped, and August began to fly towards the crab nest. However, if anyone pays attention, they can see that August's vertical pupils are obviously dilating, and he is obviously distracted. No, as a Dharma master, isn't my power too great? For the first time, Augustus had doubts about his position. No, you can't think like that. I am of the blood of the time dragon, and I am destined to become Master Fa's dragon in the future. It is true that I am a little stronger now, but as long as I work hard enough, my talent will definitely be tilted towards the legal system in the future. Right, that is it. I am the time dragon scheduled for the future. In the future, he will definitely be an elegant master, not a muscular barbarian who can only fight in close combat. The reason why he is so strong must be because he has been fighting a lot in close combat recently. In this case, I'd better use more spells in future battles. Then the expert will definitely correct it and start to shift towards magic power. Yep, that's it. In the future, the battle master must be an elegant master who throws spells from behind. The fiery red vertical pupils condensed slightly. When I came back from my thoughts, I realized that there was already a crab nest in front of me. We're home. The dragon wings flapped hard and flew to the cave in the open space above the terraces. Augustus immediately released his claws. Boom! In the latter pool, a chubby white dragon lay lying in the pool, half of its body submerged in water. Thick eyelids are tightly closed. However, from the bubbling around her dragon head, it was obvious that she was not sleeping. Gulu gulu, ouch! The round dragon head was raised, and a pair of bright white vertical pupils looked at the large lizard falling above the latter pool. The vertical pupils began to spread rapidly. Super big food. Words. August landed smoothly in front of Kalea. He glanced at the white fool in front of him who was drooling at the big lizard. This white idiot really has no ability to judge. No matter how big the giant lizard is, It is not as good as the White Wolf King who only has divine power. But Augustus looked at the corpse of the White Wolf King in front of him. Since you are going to barbecue, the ingredients are definitely indispensable. He raised the dragon's head and looked at Angia, who had just smoothly landed his claws on a crab shell. Noticing August's gaze, Angia's half-folded dragon wings paused, and a pair of calm blue vertical pupils looked directly at the red vertical pupils. Looking at Angia, Augustus broke the dragon's kiss. This Angia has been lazy all the way, so it's not too much to ask this Angia to get some green plants now, right? Well, not too much at all. Angia, go and get some green plants from the stone forest. I want a barbecue. The blue vertical pupils were slightly focused, and after a pause of about 2 seconds, Angia's half-folded dragon wings unfolded and flew into the sky. Angia. Dishes? Damn August, barbecue and barbecue. When I am better than you, I will let you barbecue every day without stopping for a moment. Augustus looked away from the back of the blue dragonfly that flew away. Well, Angia has become a lot more well-behaved recently, and it seems that she has begun to recognize my leadership ability. Yes, although he is a little bit arrogant, he is still well-behaved. Looking at Kalea in front of him, why is this white idiot still staring at the broken giant lizard? How can that meat be as good as the White Wolf King? What an ignorant white fool. The strong dragon claw was raised, aimed at the round dragon head, and then struck down with one claw. Kalea, who was in a focused state, did not expect this sudden claw, and the huge force caused her dragon head to smash directly into the pool. Ouch! Kalea raised the dragon's head from the water again. The bright white vertical pupils had condensed into vertical lines, and a fierce color appeared inside. However, when he saw who the dragon in front of him was, the condensed white vertical pupils quickly began to spread again, and a pair of chubby white dragon claws hugged the beaten dragon head, looking as aggrieved as possible. Why did Augustus hit me again? August paused for a moment at this idiot's unconscious cuteness, and then immediately became immune to it. Come on, my claws are not strong at all. By the way, Kalea, do you want to eat delicious barbecue again? Barbecue. The shiny white vertical pupils began to spread, and the dragon saliva that had just stopped dripped down the white dragon kiss again. Kalea remembered the barbecue she ate in the cave. It tasted delicious. I want it. The deception was successful, and August broke the dragon's kiss proudly. Looking at the white idiot in front of him, the look of anticipation in his bright white vertical pupils is beyond words. Okay, I'll prepare the barbecue. You go out and find some ingredients and come back. Any plant will do, but green plants will be fine. Why? I asked Angia to find the green plants. You go find something else and come back. August stretched out his big paw and put it on Kalea's round dragon head in front of him and stroked it gently. This idiot has always had good luck. He believes that letting this idiot go out to find ingredients will definitely be more efficient than Angia. This is why he just asked Angia to go out and bring some green plants. Ouch! Feeling the warm big paws on her head, Kalea's bright white vertical pupils suddenly spread with joy. She doesn't know why, but she likes Augustus touching her head like this. Warm. Chapter 64. Okay, go ahead. I need to take care of this ingredient. Augustus retracted his claws, looked at the wolf corpse 60 meters in front of him, and began to think about where to place his claws. Ouch! After taking it back, a look of disappointment flashed through the bright white vertical pupils. She glanced at August's back and Kalea unfolded her chubby dragon wings. The dragon body took off directly into the air. Hearing the wind coming from behind, Augustus didn't pay attention and looked carefully at the wolf corpse in front of him. Sure enough, I still have to paw from the belly. Take out the internal organs first, and you can have an internal organ set meal later. Thinking about it, Augustus stretched out his claws and pressed it against the White Wolf King's belly. The sharp dragon claws easily scratched the White Wolf King's belly. On the other side, Kalea flew out of the crab nest and flew down the river. The round dragon's head was buried, and a pair of bright white vertical pupils carefully scanned every possible plant below. Augustus said he didn't want green plants, but there were only green plants everywhere in this stone forest. Where to find new plants? The golden scales in the middle of the round white dragon head suddenly bloomed with a faint golden light, but Kalea, who was flying seriously, did not notice this change. She was still looking down carefully. The flight probably lasted for a few minutes. Kalea finally made a new discovery. What a strange tree on the river in front. A strange tree grows beside the river bank. The trunk is not high, only about 7 meters, but the trunk is surprisingly thick, about 5 or 6 meters thick. The crown of the tree is lush and leafy, and the emerald green leaves are crystal clear. Many oblong fruits the size of an adult's palm hang on the branches and leaves. However, there are dead bones of various animals and plants around the tree trunk. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as a pile of white bones. You can tell at a glance that this is not normal. Fruity. The bright white vertical pupils condensed for a moment, then spread rapidly the next second. Found the plant Augustus wanted. The chubby white dragon wings flapped, and Kalea dived directly towards the ground. Click. The moment she landed, Kalea's claws directly crushed many bones. Kalea didn't pay attention to this at all, or she didn't pay attention to these bones at all. Landing smoothly, the chubby white dragon wings spread out on his back were folded as he walked toward the tree in front of him. At this moment, a lot of white mist suddenly spewed out from the ground. The bright white vertical pupils were slightly condensed. What a disgusting fog, blocking the sight of the great Lady Kalea. Huh. The white dragon wings that had just been folded on the back spread out and a breeze blew up, and the surrounding dense fog was instantly dispersed. After dispelling the annoying fog, Kalea continued to step forward. The thick fog almost covered Kalea's feet, and under the thick fog, some tree roots covered with thorns poked out of the soil and were wrapped with white dragon claws. Click. The roots of the thorn tree had just been entangled for a second before they were torn off by Kalea's claws. The power is not on the same level at all. Kalea didn't notice anything strange under the dragon's claws at all. She walked forward with her claws and stopped in front of the tree trunk. The dragon's body stood upright, its front paws were off the ground, and its body was almost flush with the tree crown. As soon as Kalea raised her front paws, she noticed that there seemed to be something extra on her paws. Ouch! Where did the vines come from? The chubby dragon claw shook, and after shaking off the vines on it, Kalea stretched out her claw towards the fruit on the trunk, directly picked off an oblong fruit, and threw the dragon's kiss directly into it. It tastes weird. It's a little hot and a little spicy. After eating it, the dragon body feels a little hot, as if it's attached to Augustus's body. It's warm and a little dizzy. The round white dragon head shook left and right twice, and the dizzy feeling immediately dissipated. Kalea, standing under the tree, raised her round dragon head. What a strange fruit. It tastes weird, but it's very warm when you eat it. You should be able to take this back home. Under the white mist, the thorn tree roots extending upward along the dragon's claws paused for a moment, and then in the next second, the thorn tree roots silently began to retract toward the earth. This was obviously not an object it could hunt. Kalea began to pick fruits, starting from the bottom. But just after picking for a while, Kalea encountered a new problem. That is, there was no room for it in her paws, but most of the red fruits were still hanging on the tree. The greedy nature of the five-colored dragon species was revealed in Kalea at this moment. The round dragon head raised its head to look at the fruits already in its arms, and then raised its head to look at most of the fruits left on the crown of the tree. The bright white vertical pupils quickly condensed, and the next second his free right paw was aimed at the tree trunk and raised. Crack, click, click. The sound of plants growing rapidly. Many smooth tree roots poked out of the white mist, gathered together and quickly woven together. A 3-meter-high oblong backpack was woven directly in just 2 seconds. Seeing the thing in front of her, Kalea's round dragon head tilted slightly to the left. This thing seems to be able to hold fruit. The dragon's claws holding the fruits were released, and many of the fruits that had just been picked fell into the basket. It can really hold fruit. The bright white vertical pupils spread rapidly, and Kalea looked at the big tree in front of her. Thank you, Shasha, as if in response, the tree crown shook slightly. After thanking her, Kalea continued to raise her thick hind paws, raised her body, and continued to collect. It wasn't until the last fruit on the tree crown was picked that Kalea stopped picking. The backpack next to her was almost full. Okay, I'm going back. See you next time. Kalea waved her claws at the tree in front of her. Shasha. The canopy shook again. After receiving a response, Kalea stretched out her paws to pick up the almost full basket. A pair of chubby pure white dragon wings spread out on her back, and the dragon's body took off directly into the air. As Kalea ascended into the sky, the light emitted by the golden scales on her round dragon head gradually dimmed, and finally returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. On the ground, it wasn't until the pure white figure in the sky disappeared that the calm tree reacted. Kaka. The purple tree roots pulled out of the soil little by little, until all the roots were pulled out of the soil. The roots of the big tree were divided into 2 sides and condensed, and finally condensed into a shape similar to legs. These two legs formed from tree roots supported the tree and stood up. Then, it started running wildly along the river in the opposite direction from where Kalea left. Run away. Must run away. Who wants to see this terrifying flying monster again? It's best not to see him again forever. Just like this, a curious picture appeared on the riverbank. On the riverbank, a big tree with legs growing out was running forward at a very fast speed. Chapter 65. Hearing the sound of wind coming from behind, Augustus, who was cleaning his internal organs in the river, looked back. A slender blue baby dragon's claws slowly landed on an empty crab shell. Her posture was light and elegant, but her shape was a bit stretched, with circles of green plants wrapped around the blue dragon body, also holding a green ball wrapped with green plants in the blue dragon claws. Angia noticed August's gaze as soon as she landed, but she ignored it and glanced at the White Wolf King, who had been mostly dealt with. The imbalance in her heart was somewhat balanced at this moment. At least Augustus is not the kind of guy who only instructs dragons to do things. He also does them himself. Withdrawing her gaze, Angia began to untie the vines wrapped around her body. Angia, come here and help me take care of the wolf hair. As soon as the last vine was untied, an annoying voice came. He silently glanced at the fiery red figure lying on the riverbank in front of him. Although he didn't want to listen to this guy, the hunting had just ended and the life crystal cores had not been allocated yet. With some reluctance, Angia walked to Augustus. Augustus glanced at Angia beside him, picked up the half of the wolf's leg lying beside him, then opened a dragon kiss and poured a red dragon's breath directly on the wolf's leg. A burnt smell filled the air. The half of the wolf leg that had been baptized by the dragon's breath was charred and black, and all the hair was burned off and stuck to it by the dragon's breath. At this time, the dragon was needed to deal with it. After taking care of the wolf's legs, Augustus threw them directly to Angia beside him. Without looking, he continued to scrape the charred black hair on the wolf's body with his claws. There is still most of it unfinished, so we need to speed up the process. Angia is back, and Kalea's idiot must be coming soon too. Angia, who took the wolf's leg next to her, did not move her claws immediately. Instead, she looked at the internal organs piled up into a hill next to her. To be precise, it should be the cyan crystal core placed at the top of the internal organs. The fluctuations emitted by the crystal core are very strange. Not magic, but wind power. The blue vertical pupils were slightly condensed. This white wolf was actually a god of faith. A crystal core with divine power. Will Augustus be able to separate it? This subconscious thought popped up in my mind. If it were her, she would definitely choose to take it all for herself. This is divine power. Even though this White Wolf King has not yet truly become a god, this is the best supplement for them at this stage, and eating it is enough for them to directly advance to the next stage. As expected, Angia was looking at the crystal core. But I just won't tell you whether to separate or not. Jia. Angia, just let me figure it out slowly. Retracting his peripheral vision, Augustus continued to deal with the wolf body seriously. After cleaning the last wolf leg, Augustus stood upright. It is finally over. Then it was time for me to show off his cooking skills. There was a slight sense of expectation in Long's heart. From the corner of his eye, he glanced at Angia beside him. The slender blue dragon body was lying on an empty crab shell, his eyes fixed on the life crystal cores piled on the pile of internal organs. The longing inside no longer needs a literal description. Anyone can spot it with just one look. It seemed that Angia could not remain calm all the time. Pleasure. It really makes me happy. The red dragon kiss split with pleasure. The long and sinuous fiery red dragon tail swayed slightly. The upright Augustus bent down and stretched out his claws to pick up 2 pieces of wolf leg meat. Next, it was time to grill the meat. Taking the wolf leg meat, he walked to Angia's side and sat down. He stretched out his claws and dug up an empty crab shell from the river, emptied the water inside, and a brazier was created. Next words. Snapped. 2 pieces of wolf leg meat were smashed in front of Angia, and the huge pieces of meat directly blocked the view ahead. Wrap the meat around those green plants. After giving the order, Augustus' fiery red vertical pupils condensed slightly. The casting ring unfolded in front of him. The dragon claw stretched out and directly pulled out the flame spear and threw it into the crab shell in front of him. Zitzi, water vapor emerged from the crab shell, and it lasted for about 10 seconds. The water in the crab shell was completely evaporated, and there was no more water vapor to continue to emerge. He stretched out his claws and picked up a sharp white bone from the pile of bones next to him. The bone was removed from the White Wolf King. It was a rib. It was just right to be used as a barbecue skewer. However, it needs to be polished in front. It is not sharp enough, and it will not be easy to skewer the meat later. If a miracle happens with great force, the bone may break. Sharp dragon claws were polished on the tips of the ribs. After polishing 2 ribs in succession, the fiery red vertical pupils turned to the left, and the peripheral vision glanced to the side. Angia is wrapping green plants around pieces of meat. Angia can really tolerate this. It's obviously a very simple question. Just ask me directly. I won't do anything excessive. At most, it's just a small request. Like watching baby dragons dance or something. TSK, Angia is just a piece of shit. Stretching out his dragon claw, Augustus picked up a piece of meat that had been wrapped with green plants and started skewering the meat. After skewering, I clamped it directly on the hard shell and started grilling. Just then the sound of wind came from the sky. August raised the dragon's head and saw a chubby, pure white figure landing here. Kalea held a backpack in her arms. The moment he saw the backpack, Augustus couldn't help showing surprise in his fiery red eyes. The backpack looks like it is made of vines. It is very detailed and has no gaps at all. It is integrated, just like a work of art. This kind of meticulous work is not something that an idiot like Kalea can do. Could it be that this white idiot has met a wise man? As soon as this idea arose, it was dismissed. With the character of this idiot, if he really encounters an intelligent species, then Gao Lu should bring a few back. Judging from the appearance, there are no traces of battle on Idiot Bai's body. Forget it, it's just a guess. Just ask by fool. August stared at Kalea, who landed in front of him. The dragon claw landed smoothly, and Kalea walked up to August with her dragon body upright and a backpack in her arms. August, I'm back. This is what I found. Kalea handed the basket in her arms forward, but her pair of crystal white vertical pupils stared directly at the barbecued meat that had baked grease on the crab shell, and the crystal dragon saliva flowed out along the white dragon's kiss. Augustus looked at the basket handed over by Kalea, which was filled with palm-sized and oblong fiery red fruits. The shape looks a bit like a pepper. He stretched out his dragon claws and picked up a red fruit from the basket on his back. Open the dragon's kiss and throw the fruit directly into the dragon's kiss. The dragon's body is naturally extraordinary. No poison can kill the dragon. No matter how violent the poison is, it will only allow the dragon to have a good sleep. Chapter 66. It was precisely because he knew this that Augustus dared to throw the fruit into his mouth. August, hashtag. The hot taste spreads in the dragon's kiss. Chewing. Does it taste good? Can be used as chili pepper. Chew. Wait until your dragon body is strengthened. This fruit is good. The fiery red vertical pupils spread joyfully. Although it was only a little bit, this fruit did have the effect of strengthening the physique, and at the same time, it could also slightly increase the flame resistance. Yes, this idiot Kalea brought back some pretty good stuff. Chewing, and so on. It seems to be a little poisonous, but not violent. The brain was dizzy for 0.1 seconds, and then quickly returned to normal. If you hadn't carefully sensed it, you would hardly have noticed this dizziness. Aguseo, can this be used? Looking at the white idiot in front of him who was looking at him eagerly, Augustus stretched out his paw and directly put it on Kalea's round head and stroked it gently. Well done, Kalea. You brought back some good ingredients. You will be the first to eat the barbecue later. Okay. When she heard that she could be the first to eat the barbecue, Kalea's tail started to sweep quickly behind her. Okay, sit down. Augustus retracted his claws and was not in a hurry to ask Kalea where she found the fruit. The big paw picked up the ribs and skewered 2 more pieces of meat and put them on the grill. Then he skewered 3 more skewers of grilled offal and put them on the grill. While turning over the roasted meat, Augustus looked at Kalea, who was sitting next to him. Kalea, where did you find these fruits? Kalea, who was sitting next to Augustus, stared directly at the barbecue, and the scene of the barbecue being sizzling and oily was reflected in her bright white vertical pupils. Hearing August calling her, Kalea reluctantly withdrew her gaze from the barbecue and looked at August next to her. It's by the river. I picked it from a good tree. That tree is so good. When I almost couldn't hold the fruit, it even made me a tool, a good tree. A question mark rose in August's head. I think it's a World of Warcraft, and it's probably not a high level. Otherwise, he wouldn't be cowardly enough to take the initiative to knit a backpack for Kalea. The doubts in my heart were answered. However, the tree monster that can bear this kind of fruit is a rare monster. When you have free time, you can take the time to see if you can bring the plant monster to the crab nest, so that Chili will not have to worry about it in the future. Where is the direction of Kalea's tree? Kalea raised her chubby dragon claw and pointed at the river below the terraces. As you go down this river, there is a branch. If you take the middle river, you can see the tree. After getting the answer, Augustus broke the dragon's kiss with satisfaction. The dragon's claws reached into the basket on his back and grabbed a handful of red fruits. After pulling out the dragon claw, Augustus glanced at Angia, who was staring straight at him. It was obvious that she was also interested in the red fruit, but she just didn't speak. This crumb, Angia, is just crumbs. But I'm in a good mood now, so I'll satisfy you for once. The strong dragon claw tossed, and a small fiery red fruit was thrown directly over. Facing the fruit thrown at her, Angia's eyes showed a trace of confusion, but the dragon body still opened its dragon's kiss very honestly and bit the fruit in one bite. The moment I bit into the fruit, I felt a spicy sensation on my taste buds. Just when I was about to open a dragon kiss and spit it out, I felt a faint sense of warmth in the dragon's body, and my physique was strengthened. Although it is very small, it has indeed been strengthened, and some weak fire resistance has also been strengthened. The brain was dizzy. A little toxic, but not much. Looking at the white idiot opposite who was staring at the barbecue, Angia had a complicated look in her vertical blue eyes. This idiot actually brought such a good thing back. If it were me, August stretched out his dragon claw and opened a slit on the barbecue, then stuffed the red fruit into it and stuck it. There were 5 or 6 pieces of meat stuffed into each piece of barbecue. Okay, done. Then it's time to wait. The red eyes glanced at Kalea, who was sitting next to her, and Angia, who was lying on the crab shell opposite. But it seems that Zhongye can have some fun during this time. The slender dragon tail behind Augustus lifted out of the water. The dragon's tail extended to the pile of internal organs next to it and rolled up the life crystal core of the White Wolf King. Extending his claws, he just took the life crystal core the size of a bathtub from the dragon's tail. Lifting the dragon's head, his eyes met a pair of shining white vertical pupils. August, is this the life crystal core? It smells so delicious. Kalea bit her right claw, and the crystal saliva dripped from the white dragon's kiss into ice skates and fell into the water. This greedy white idiot is very sensitive to good things, and his treasure hunting talent must be fully utilized. August smiled and broke the dragon's kiss. The dragon claw gently tapped the life crystal core in the claw. Ding! The life crystal core made a crisp sound, and the sound was very clear. Want to eat, Kalea? Kalea. Kalea quickly moved the round dragon head. Okay, I can give you a share, but you have to fulfill a small request of mine. Ouch! Don't worry. While comforting by Fool, Augustus glanced at Angia across from him with his peripheral vision. Angia did not have any surprise and was staring straight at this side. The dragon's kiss cracked slightly, and Augustus looked back at the expectant white idiot in front of him. August raised his right paw, and fiery red magical threads emerged from his right paw, condensing into the structure. A fat and round red dragon appeared on the dragon's claw. The next second, the little red dragon stood upright, and its chubby dragon body began to twist from side to side. This was a dance, not many graceful steps, very simple but with a very strong brainwashing rhythm. It looked very silly. So cute. This is the video that Augustus came across when he checked his cell phone, showing 2 magical black and white dragons dancing. Because I was brainwashed enough, I always remember it. Ouch! Looking at the little dragon dancing on its claws, Kalea slightly tilted its round head. Augustus, why are you showing me this? Kalea, if you dance like this, I will give you life crystal cores. Ouch! The bright white vertical pupils quickly condensed, and without any hesitation, Kalea stood up directly. The dragon's body stood upright, and the next second Kalea directly raised the chubby white dragon claws, imitating the little red dragon on the claws, and started the magical dance. Although she is a little stupid, Kalea's learning ability is no problem. She imitated the little red dragon and made a 9-point resemblance. The dragon's kiss split happily, and Master Yu was very happy. Kalea, who learns to dance like a little red dragon, is both cute and magical without losing the magic of her dance. August's pair of red vertical pupils had unknowingly expanded from 1 to 1, and he was obviously extremely happy. Chapter 67. The magical dance lasted for about 5 minutes, and Kalea stopped because she saw that the little red dragon in August's paws was no longer beating. Kalea walked back to sit next to August, looking eagerly at August in front of her. Auguseo, I'm done dancing. Yeah, okay, not bad. August shook his dragon claw to scatter the small fire dragon constructed with magic power in his claw, then stretched out his claw to stroke Kalea's round dragon head, and then retracted it, picked up the crystal core next to it, and gently rubbed it on the scion. There was a light tap on the life crystal core. With a slight sound, the crystal core broke into two halves from the middle. He picked up one half and struck it with his claws in the middle again, and the crystal core was split in two from the middle. When Augustus raised the dragon's head, he saw Kalea, who couldn't stop drooling in front of him. He was really a greedy white idiot. However, I am a trustworthy dragon. A quarter of the crystal core in the strong dragon claw was thrown away. Ouch! Kalea opened her dragon's kiss, caught the crystal core firmly, and started chewing it. Kacha kacha. Okay, then it's your turn. August raised the dragon's head and looked at the blue figure lying on the crab shell directly opposite. Angia had obviously been watching this side, and the moment she raised the dragon's head, their eyes met. After looking at each other for 2 or 3 seconds, Augustus broke the dragon's kiss. Today, the colors in Angia's vertical pupils are very rich. They are no longer the kind of three nothings. There are desires and entanglements in them, all of which are great emotional colors. This is much cuter than Angia in her normal state. The remaining crystal core in the dragon's claw was thrown into the air. Angia, do you want to dance? Looking at the life crystal core that was thrown up high and then caught by the red dragon's claws before being thrown up again, the tangled look in Angia's vertical pupils became even more intense. Do not jump. This life crystal core containing divine power really greatly improved her growth. Jump? The evil amusement revealed in this guy August's vertical pupils is already naked. And that dance just now looked really stupid. If Angia actually plays silence tactics on me, then don't blame me, Jia. August opened the dragon's kiss, picked up half of the life crystal core next to it with his left paw, and then sent it directly to the dragon's kiss. The dragon's kiss opened and then, kacha kacha. While chewing Augustus, he quietly stared at Angia across from him. I want to see how calm Angia like you is today. August, hashtag, chew. The life crystal core is not big, and for August it is only a matter of 3 or 2 mouthfuls, when the last piece is thrown into the dragon's kiss. August saw Angia's pupils opposite her begin to condense. Here it comes. I jump. The voice was calm. As soon as the words fell, Angia, who was lying on the crab shell, stood upright and began to dance. The flaming red vertical pupils spread with joy, and the dragon's kiss split open happily, revealing the big white teeth inside. Pleasure. Really pleasure. This little sister can dance really well, even better than Kalea. Angia put aside the blue dragon head. She didn't want to see Augustus looking so proud, with the dragon's body dancing numbly. I still don't want to, but I just want to see you being so dissatisfied, Angia. So reluctant but forced to do it. Jia. Today is such a happy day. 5 minutes later, Angia stopped dancing, and the dragon's head turned to look at August. A pair of blue vertical pupils looked calm inside, but August understood that this was just an appearance. Now Angia must be so ashamed and angry that she wanted to kill the dragon and silence her. But she can't beat him, what a shame. There was a hint of regret in his red vertical pupils. It would be great if I could have a mobile phone. I could record this scene and show Angia the dark history every now and then when she grows up. At the same time, she could also ask for some labor fees from me for recording her childhood. This video, I can eat this Angia for the rest of my life. It's just a pity. Noticing the change in the red vertical pupils, although I don't know what Augustus, this big chip, was thinking, he definitely didn't have any good ideas. The blue dragon claw stretches forward. Now she just wants to get the crystal core, eat it, and go back to the crab nest to sleep. However, at this time Augustus gently shook the dragon's head. No, I can't give you the life crystal core. The blue vertical pupils condensed into vertical lines in an instant. Angia said nothing, but just stared at Augustus silently. Don't be too quick to get angry. Listen to me and tell you the reason. You danced very poorly just now. What do you mean by dancing with your head tilted? You don't respect me at all. At this point, Augustus paused and then broke into a dragon kiss. So jump again. If it satisfies me, I will give you the crystal core, just like Kalea. What does this big crumb mean? Am I not as good as this idiot Kalea? Obviously my dance steps are completely restored 100%. So you want to see it, right? Okay. I jump. The blue dragon's body twisted and danced the magical dance again. He actually jumped up. Angia can really tolerate this. She looks like a dragon who can achieve great things. While flipping the grilled meat, watch Ange dance with an angry look on her face. Well, today is such a good day. 5 minutes passed quickly. Angia, who stopped this time, did not stretch out her claws, but just stared at Augustus silently. It was impossible to hide the gaze that wanted Daolong, but Augustus didn't panic at all when Anjia was looking at him like this. First of all, Anjia couldn't beat him, and secondly, I didn't forget what I saw when I peeked at the time last time. The shocking picture. The fiery red vertical pupils condensed slightly. Ahem, the dance steps are okay, but your eyes are too fierce. Do it again. Don't stare at me with fierce eyes. Those who know are watching you dance. Those who don't know think you want to hit me. The blue dragon's head hung down. About 3 seconds after it came over, Anjia raised the dragon's head again. The blue vertical pupils had returned to normal, and the inside looked as calm as a pool of stagnant water, without any ripples. The blue dragon's body began to twist, and a new dance began. Could this Anjia have been spoiled? TSK. Boring. I still want to see Anjia's eyes that are more colorful. Anjia stopped after 5 minutes. This time Augustus simply threw away the remaining life crystal core in his claws. Boring. So boring. Sam was Anjia tune. Ahem. Not fun. The blue dragon kissed the thrown life crystal core and then stretched out its claws to pick up a piece of wolf leg meat. The blue dragon spread its wings and flew directly towards the crab nest. August? Why did Anjia leave? Are you not going to eat barbecue? Hearing Kalea's words beside him, Augustus helplessly spread his paws. What's wrong with me? I just want to see the little dragonfly dance. The big paw was lifted up and stroked again on Kalea's round dragon head sitting next to her. The hand felt smooth and great as always. Chapter 68. It's okay. Ignore her. Let's eat meat. Ouch. When she heard the barbecue, Kalea immediately forgot about everything and looked expectantly at the sizzling barbecue on the grill. Seeing the expectant look on the white fool's face, August stretched out his paw and picked up a skewer of barbecue and handed it to Kalea. Thank you, August. With a thank you, Kalea stretched out a pair of chubby dragon claws and took the kebab. This idiot is so polite. Kalea held the barbecue in her hands and bit into it with a dragon kiss. The inside of the bitten barbecue is still blood red, and the color should be only medium rare. Well, I can eat it. Looking back, Augustus picked up a skewer of barbecue for himself. When you take a bite, the juice splashes everywhere, and there is almost no sweetness, but more of a spicy and meaty aroma. Yeah, it's indeed my barbecue. It tastes great. Although Anjia was missing, the barbecue on the crab shell was still wiped away. The last piece of roasted heart meat was thrown into the dragon's kiss. Augustus turned his head and looked at Kalea next to him. The warmth of the divine power and the poison of the red fruit made this white idiot fall asleep without eating 2 pieces of roasted meat. The chubby pure white dragon body maintained an upright sitting position and leaned on him again. There were some crystal ambergris hanging on the round dragon head. A thin layer of ice has condensed around the dragon's body that was submerged in the water. It was obvious that he had entered the advanced state of sleep. The red dragon's kiss opened wide, and he yawned lazily, sleepiness overtaking him. August knew that he was about to fall asleep, but this time he was growing up and advancing from a young dragon to a young dragon. The dragon's claw waved, directly dispelling the casting ring that had been maintained on the left side of the dragon's head. The long and winding fiery red dragon tail extended around the round and chubby dragon body and rolled up Kalea. Wow! His front paws landed on the ground, and he took his claws towards the crab nest. Although dragons can stand upright, giant dragons still prefer the posture with 4 paws on the ground, and this is no exception. Caria walked into the crab nest with Kalea wrapped around her tail. The first time Augustus entered the crab nest, he felt the strong thunder element. In the innermost part of the crab nest, a young blue dragon lay quietly, with a faint electric arc flashing around her. It was obvious that Anjia's strength had also advanced. Augustus was not surprised by this. After all, it contained a divine power crystal core. Although it was very small, it was enough for a young dragon to advance in strength. Fortunately, I asked these 2 guys to fill the dragon's nest with pebbles at the beginning. Otherwise, it would be a bit unbearable to soak in the water and make ice while one discharges electricity. Rejoicing in his heart, Augustus came to the center of the dragon's nest and placed Kalea with her tail curled 10 meters away to the left. The moment the dragon body lay down, sleepiness rushed over him, and his eyelids became heavier and heavier. Without resistance, he closed his eyelids following the sleepiness, and his consciousness slowly sank. Apart from the one after another breathing of the 3 dragons, there was no other sound in the crab nest. A platform-like altar was built on a flat stone platform made of stones. It was filled with the corpses of various beasts and monsters. The rich smell of blood made many big blackbirds hover in the sky. A strong, shirtless young blue orc carried a wild boar and threw it onto the altar. Then he walked behind the old priest who was standing by the altar looking toward the plain. "Aga, father, this is the last sacrifice." "Well, that's okay." The old priest, who was still strong but with wrinkled skin, turned around and looked sternly at the young blue orc, his bloodline. "How many times have I told you to call me priest when I'm performing a sacrifice? Isn't this the same?" "Azza, you guy." The priest raised the animal bone staff in his hand and was about to swipe it at the young orc, but in the end he couldn't bear to swipe it. Old age has a son, and this is his only bloodline. "Hey, I know Aga is reluctant to hit me. Okay, let's get down. It's worship time now, be serious." Oh, although he is naughty, the young orc is quite obedient. He stepped off the altar, watching his son walk away. The priest continued to look up in the direction of the plain. They were at the top of a hill. Standing on the sacrificial platform, they could see a plain covered with green grass. Looking at the plain, the priest's eyes showed worry. The tribesmen are all idiots with little intelligence and cannot calculate time, but he can use the magic power in his body to calculate time. Logically speaking, the Lord of Wind Spirits should have arrived by now. But now it has been more than 2 hours, and the Lord of Wind Spirits still hasn't appeared. This is not in line with the sacrificial ritual, and it shouldn't be late. Looking down at the waiting tribesmen, the old priest silently tightened the animal bone staff in his hand. Poof! Without any warning, the old priest spit out a mouthful of blood. The bright blue pupils became turbid at the mouth of blood, and the strong body began to shrink. Soon, the original height of more than 3 meters was reduced to 2 meters, and the figure became rugged. "Ah, Ga, what's wrong with you, Ga? Master Priest, are you okay?" The old priest completely ignored the noisy sounds around him, stretched out his palm, and stared at the palm that was so dry that the outline of the bones was visible. Something went wrong. The Lord of the Wind Spirit died, and the source of the core of life was also eaten. Is this other tribes targeting their Wind Spirit tribe? Or is it that the Lord of Wind Spirits has encountered an unbeatable opponent? The latter is unlikely. The Lord of the Wind Spirit is about to advance. In terms of strength, there should be no one in that stone forest who can kill it. The Lord of the Wind Spirit can directly occupy it as long as he waits to advance. Stone forest. So is it targeted by other tribes? No, you have to find a way to figure this out yourself. A glimmer of light flashed in his turbid eyes, and the old priest looked at the people surrounding him. There is something wrong with the sacrifice. Now all tribesmen are on alert. In response to possible situations, all sentries are dispatched. Yes, Lord Priest. The IQ of the blue orcs is not high, but their obedience is very high. The entire tribe took action. A week passed, and there was still no change. This made the old priest begin to wonder if his guess was wrong. Perhaps the real situation was the latter. "Oh, man. What's the matter, Aga?" The young blue orc pushed open the wooden door and walked into the room, looking at Aya, who was sitting on the chair with concern. "I'm going out for a trip. During this time, you will be in charge of the tribe. You don't have to do anything. Just keep everything as usual." "Yes, Aga." Perhaps the sudden change made Amon mature a lot. He has been very obedient recently. Looking at his son who had changed a lot, the old priest's cloudy eyes showed a hint of satisfaction. He has grown up. Chapter 69. The old priest held out his rough hand. Amon saw Oz's stretched out hand and sat cross-legged on the ground obediently. "Good boy." The old priest put his hand on Amon's head and gently stroked his rough hair. "There is something wrong with the Lord of the Wind Spirit of our tribe. I have to go out for a while. I can only work hard for you during this period, Amon. I'm very happy to be able to help Azza." Amon's beast face showed a smile, a very pure smile. Okay. The old priest shouted 3 times in a row before continuing to explain. "Don't leak the news of my departure to other tribes. Just announce that I have started meditating. I will come back within 2 months." Hearing Aga's words, Amon nodded heavily, but there was worry in his eyes. The Lord of Wind Spirits lives in the Stone Forest, a dangerous area filled with all kinds of powerful monsters. "Don't worry, I'll be fine, and I'll definitely be back." Azza's words were full of confidence, just like before. The always confident Azza seemed to be back again. "I believe Azza. Well, let's bring a group of soldiers over. I need them to accompany me this time." "Okay, Azza, I'll go get ready right now." "Go." On an empty crab shell, two baby dragons, one white and one blue, about 9 meters in length, lay side by side. The white dragon body was round and fleshy, while the blue dragon body looked slender, soft, and delicate. Kalea raised her round dragon head and tilted it slightly to the right, looking at Angia Ao next to her. Angia August, when will you wake up? She wanted to eat barbecue, but she couldn't make a fire without August. What? You really want that guy to wake up? Augustus will have some barbecue when he wakes up. This idiot, can he only think about food besides eating? Isn't there plenty of food? It's different. The barbecue is even more delicious. Then can't you just bake it yourself? But I don't know how to light a fire. This is very simple. You go to the stone forest to find some trees, and I will help you light a fire. Hearing this, Kalea, who was lying on her stomach, suddenly raised her round dragon head. Really? Just go find some wood. Ouch. Thank you, Angia. Kalea propped up the dragon's body, spread out its chubby dragon wings, and flew directly off the ground towards the stone forest. Looking at Idiot Bai's back, Angia didn't get up. It was just a matter of lighting a fire, which was not a problem for her. Within a few minutes, Kalea flew back, holding a pair of fresh tree trunks in her fat dragon claws. Angia, I'm back. Hearing the sound, Angia, who was lying on the crab shell, raised the dragon's head and looked at Kalea, who landed in front of her. Put this firewood into the crab shell. The blue dragon claw lifted up and pointed at the empty crab shell turned over in front. This was the crab shell that the Augustana guy used last time. Ouch. Kalea stepped forward, obediently put the wood in her paws, and then looked at Angia expectantly. Angia ignored the white fool's gaze. She supported her dragon body with her dragon claws and jumped off the crab shell. She walked to the crab shell filled with wood and stopped, opening her dragon's kiss. Boom. As a purple lightning breath hit the wood piled in the crab shell, smoke rose, and then flames burned. Ouch! The bright white vertical pupils expanded rapidly, with flames reflected inside. Fire! It's fire! Looking at the white fool who was yelling, Angia's vertical pupils also dilated slightly. It was just making a fire, and Angia could do it too. Hurry up and get some meat to roast. Ouch! In response, Kalea turned around and walked towards the top of the ladder pool. As she moved, Kalea's fat, all-like tail swung back and forth. There was a cave they opened up to store food. After waking up, Kalea and Angia immediately dismembered the meat left outside and put it into the cave. At that time, just the blood flowing out dyed the river red. Lying down in the ladder pool, Angia raised the dragon's head and looked at the crab nest above the ladder pool. Unlike them, Augustus did not advance in strength, but in growth, from the young dragon stage to the young dragon stage. The baby dragon that advances to the baby dragon stage will awaken the power of the dragon. Augustus is no exception. His dragon power is expanding every day, covering an even wider area. It was precisely because of this that when she and Kalea dismembered the giant lizard, no monster dared to offend them. Of course, it doesn't matter whether it's offensive or not. Kalea will rush forward as soon as she sees food being delivered to her door. Angia, I'm back. Kalea flew back holding a large horned lizard corpse. The dragon body stopped smoothly in front of the burning crab shell. Seeing that the white idiot was back, Angia also stretched out her claws and dragged the horned lizard over and began to dismember it. A pair of red lights suddenly lit up in the dark crab nest covered with cobblestones, like two large lanterns. Opening his eyes, Augustus slowly raised his dragon body. Feeling the explosive power in the dragon's body, Augustus broke the dragon's kiss happily. His growth and advancement this time was perfect. Now he is a young dragon. The strong dragon claws full of muscle outlines held up the dragon's body. The dragon's head turned back and looked at the dragon's body carefully. It had changed a lot. The muscle outlines could be vaguely seen on the dragon's body. It was strong. In addition, the dragon's body had become bigger and had grown to 20 meters away. All the dragon scales turned to dark red except for the thick white scales on the abdomen, which remained unchanged. It would be nice if there was a mirror. I must look extremely handsome now. A normal young dragon should only be 6 or 7 meters tall at this stage, but he is of Dragon King bloodline. This size is a bit bigger, but still within the normal range. After all, he has more than just Dragon King bloodline in his body. There is also the legendary bloodline of the Time Dragon. Compared with those time dragons who start at the 10th ring as soon as they break out of their shells, he can't be worse. When can I awaken that talent? With a sigh in his heart, Augustus closed his eyes again and began to examine the awakened talent. The first is the dragon power that will be awakened in the young dragon stage. Time pressure. Emits a time pressure covering a range of 200 meters. Creatures whose strength is lower than yours within the pressure will be unable to move. Creatures whose strength is equal to yours will slow down their own time flow. Creatures whose strength exceeds yours will be blocked. Causes a certain degree of sluggishness, and the greater the strength gap, the smaller the effect. It can cause a slowdown effect on the opponent, which is good, and it will make hunting in the future very easy. This dragon is so powerful. Breath of Exile. Opponents hit by Dragon's Breath will be exiled from the current timeline and lose a lot of time in the long river of time. Breath of Exile, one of the signature abilities of the Time Dragon, is that the consumption is a bit high compared to the Breath of Plunder. One mouthful can give you 1,000 time mana, which is enough to squeeze the dragon out of it. Chapter 70. Read on. Burning Judgment. The condensed flames gather into a cross sword. When it hits the target, a range explosion, 4 rings, will occur. August suddenly felt his eyes light up. Jia. I am indeed a born Dharma Master. Another powerful spell. The consumption is also within the acceptable range, the consumption of 500 magic powers. Next. Flame Dragon Body. Summons flames to cover the appearance of the dragon body. During the period of flame coverage, the dragon body will be strengthened twice. Another spell, although it's an auxiliary type, but it's okay. It's just that it consumes a lot of energy. 800 magic powers are almost 1/3 of what I was using. Next. Melee Body. Melee physical strength is enhanced 3 times. Hey unlucky stuff. I'm a master. Why do you want this thing from you? 3 times the magic power is still about the same. Okay, 4 talents, 2 time types, and 1 signature spell. Well, gone. The thick eyelids were raised to reveal a pair of red vertical pupils. Goo. As soon as I opened my eyes, my stomach started growling. Calculating the flow rate of magic power, I have been sleeping for nearly a month this time, and my hunger is indeed within the normal range. I don't know if the meat in the cave was eaten by those two. I think should not be. Even if almost a month has passed, those 2 guys shouldn't have eaten all the meat if they could, unless they kept eating. While thinking about it, Augustus walked out of the crab nest. As soon as I walked out of the crab nest, I immediately saw the thick smoke rising below the ladder pool. There seemed to be 2 figures moving in the thick smoke. A slender figure with a dragon body, his whole body blackened, rushed out of the smoke. Augustus paused. Is this Angia? What are these 2 doing? Does smoke change color? Gee, did the rebellious stage of the underage dragon come so quickly? Augustus stopped with interest and quietly stared at Angia, who was coughing violently below. Ouch! Another dark figure with a very round dragon body rushed out of the thick smoke. Unlike Angia, Kalea, who rushed out a step later, held 2 skewers of black barbecued meat skewered with bones in her 2 chubby dragon claws. I feel so choked. What are you doing? Just as the 2 hatchlings sat upright and coughed, a shadow covered them. Hearing the familiar voice coming from behind, the bright white vertical pupils spread rapidly, and then Kalea raised the round dragon head, with the dragon's kiss facing the sky. Auguseo, are you awake? Yeah, but what are you doing? Augustus asked again, glancing at the barbecue in Kalea's paws, and then at Angia, who was quiet next to her. Facing the gaze directed at her, Angia turned around and looked directly into her eyes. Well, are you still angry? Angia is really stingy. She will definitely be a loser in the future. Looking away, Augustus looked at Kalea. Angia and I are having a barbecue. August glanced at the 2 skewers of barbecue, held tightly in Kalea's chubby paws. They were as black as smoked meat. These things should be edible for their dragon species, but the taste would definitely not be much better. Augustus is looking at my barbecue. Do you want it? But the great lady Kalea didn't eat Ao, but August Ao is so strong now that he can't beat Ao. A tangled look flashed across her bright white vertical pupils. After a brief hesitation, Kalea turned around and handed the skewer clenched in her right paw forward. Give this to Augustus. The remaining bunch is mine. Augustus, you can't steal it. Looking at the white fool in front of him who was looking at him eagerly, Augustus didn't know what to say for a moment. It was obvious that this idiot seemed to have misunderstood something. He glanced at the kebabs that were almost like smoked meat and suddenly felt less hungry. You can eat it yourself. I don't want to eat kebabs. Ouch, wow. Hearing the sound of movement, August subconsciously glanced behind Kalea. The fat, all-dragon tail, half submerged in the water, was swinging left and right, stirring the water surface. Angia, you eat it. Kalea stretched out her right paw towards Angia. Facing the barbecue that was handed to her, Angia moved the dragon's head left and right without any hesitation. I'm not hungry, you can eat? Then I'll eat it myself. Perhaps because he was happy to hear that Angia didn't want Kalea, the tail of the fat, all soaked in the water, swung faster. Kalea opened the dragon's kiss and stuffed the skewers directly into the dragon's kiss. As soon as the kebab was stuffed into dragon kiss, Kalea paused as if a body-holding spell had been cast on her. The next second, Kalea spat out the skewers in her mouth. After vomiting for a while, it seemed that the vomit was gone. Kalea raised her dragon head and looked at August eagerly. Ogu, this barbecue is so unpalatable. Seeing this aggrieved white idiot, Augustus subconsciously wanted to stretch out his claws, but when he saw the round white idiot in front of him with a round dragon head as black carbon, Augustus thought for a while and silently retracted his claws. Go and wash it in the water, then go get some meat and I'll roast it. Ouch! The young Lolita sound was instantly full of energy, and Kalea stood up and walked towards the river. Wash it, take the meat, and then you can eat delicious barbecue. The chubby dragon's tail swings rapidly from side to side. Looking away from Kalea's back, Augustus looked at Angia, who was squatting in front of him, staring at the thick smoke. It seemed that Angia was responsible for making a fire, but her fire didn't seem to be that successful. Augustus stepped forward a little, and the slender dragon tail extended to the front of the dragon body and then penetrated into the black smoke. The tail began to retract after receiving feedback from the piercing thing. Submerge the contents of the tail into the water. Zizi. Steam rose, but calm soon returned. Pull back the tail. He stretched out his claws and took out the half-blackened charred object from his tail. It's a tree. The dragon's claws easily tore open the wood, revealing the raw wood inside. There wasn't much surprise when he saw Augustus' eyes. He actually already had the answer in his mind from the moment he saw the smoke, and now he just wanted to confirm it further. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at Angia, who was staring directly at the thick smoke. Angia was very smart this time, but this time she was obviously stupid. But it's normal. No matter how smart you are, it's only reflected in your magic talent, and there is no inheritance in the dragon's inheritance that teaches a young dragon how to make fire. This is raw wood. If you want to light a fire to barbecue, you have to find dry wood so that there is no smoke. Angia stood up and looked at Augustus. After their eyes met for a few seconds, Angia turned around and walked towards the river. She also needed to clean up now. Chapter 71. How stingy. After muttering something, Augustus looked away from the figure walking towards the river and looked at the thick smoke that was still rising in front of him. The long and winding dragon tail extends directly into the thick smoke and overturns the crab shell. Zitzi! The sound of evaporation lasted for a while and then calmed down. The smoke slowly dispersed, and instead, a blackened crab shell lay quietly in the water. Stretch out your claws to turn the crab shell over, pour out the coke residue inside, and rearrange it properly. Summoning a flame spear and putting it into the crab shell, the next step was to wait for Kalea's idiot to bring the meat. By the way, the fruit from last time. Augustus raised his dragon head and looked below the water flow. Inspiration from time. Let me leave you. You wanted to bring back that plant-type monster, but it was obviously too late. After Kalea picked all the fruits it had accumulated for hundreds of years, the plant-type monster had already uprooted and ran away. Did you escape? Augustus withdrew his gaze and continued to look at the crab shell in front of him. Since he escaped, forget it. The revelation has made it clear that the tree has been plucked. Moreover, only takes 100 years to build a basket, and the result is not very efficient. There's no use in catching it, so it's better to forget it. Kalea didn't let August wait long. Auguseo, hearing the sound, Augustus looked back and saw Kalea running upright with a basket in her arms and two fat but cute hind paws. There was a lot of meat stacked on the basket. A light frost condensed on the meat, constantly exuding cold air. I brought barbecue. Facing Kalea's eager gaze, August stretched out his paws and took the backpack first. Well, I'm going to start grilling the meat, but I need some help from Kalea. What does Augustus want from me? Keep this full. August handed the bones he had just cleaned out of boredom to Kalea. Ouch, Kalea happily took the bone. When the skewers are full, you can eat the meat. Augustus picked up the basket and unloaded the meat onto the clean crab shell next to him. He looked at the basket and saw that there were still most of the red fruits from last time. Augustus' eyes lit up when he saw the ingredients. Assuming these two guys still have conscience, they didn't eat up the fruit directly. Generally, there is an upper limit on how much you can eat this kind of enhanced magic plant fruit. This half of the backpack should be enough to reach the upper limit. Thinking of it, August picked up a piece of meat and used a sharp dragon claw to make cuts on it, and then stuffed the red fruit into it. Wow! Hearing the sound of water flowing, August glanced at Anjia, who was walking out of the water, raised her dragon claw, and struck directly. If you want to eat meat, come here and skewer it yourself. You can eat as much as you want. Anjia walked over directly without any hesitation. Eat. Why don't you eat? Eat this guy August's barbecue, and earn as much as you want. Anjia walked to the crab shell and sat down with her dragon body upright. Blue, white, and red, the 3 dragons sat around in front of the crab shell and started grilling. In the stone forest, a group of blue orcs were fighting a 3-meter-tall, 5-meter-long fire lion with a mane like flames. It was clearly a group of blue orcs beating up a fire lion, but the result seemed to be one-sided. A group of blue orcs struggled to parry the fire lion attack. They cooperated very well and could always replace their companions when they were unable to resist. It was this tacit understanding that allowed them to have no casualties yet. Suddenly, the fire lion stopped attacking. Tired of playing, it's time to eat. The fire lion's eyes were fixed on the blue orc in front of him. Back off. At this time, an old but rich voice shouted. After hearing the words of the priest, all the blue orcs kept their formation and retreated, but it seemed that it was still a little late. A ring of fire exploded with the fire lion as the center. Facing the sudden explosion of the fire lion, the blue orc's formation was instantly broken. In the flames, the fire lion pounced ferociously and accurately knocked down the blue orc it was locked on. It pressed its claws on the blue orc and opened its mouth to bite down. If this bite hits, the entire head of the blue orc will be bitten off without any surprise. A green wind blade came rushing towards me without any warning. The fire lion barely had time to react. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere, and the wind blade cut off half of the fire lion's head. At this moment, the fire lion felt the fear of death. Without any hesitation, the fire lion turned around and ran directly into the stone forest. Seeing the fire lion running away, the old priest coughed up a mouthful of blood. Master Priest. Facing the concern of his tribe, the old priest waved his hand. This was the 6th time he had vomited blood. The Lord of Wind Spirits is dead, and now every time he casts a spell, he will suffer backlash. It's okay, keep going. I can feel the breath of the Lord of Wind Spirits. We will find it soon. The old priest raised his head and looked forward firmly with his cloudy eyes. Facing the priest's order, the blue orcs could only continue to move forward. The escaping fire lion ran away, but its speed became slower and slower. Soon it changed from running to walking. Later, even walking started to fall left and right. Sha-sha. The trembling lion's claws could no longer support its body, and the fire lion fell to the ground. The remaining flaming red lion stared at the river in front, with a look of longing in it. But his body was no longer able to support him in moving. On the riverbank, Augustus, who had already eaten most of the barbecue and was 60% full, suddenly felt that just eating spicy barbecue was a bit lacking. He looked at Kalea, who was staring at the barbecue. This idiot has already eaten a lot, but he still wants to eat. This amount of food is not enough. Kalea's barbecue still needs a little time. Go and bring me some green plants. Let's bake barbecue with a new flavor. New taste. The sparkling white vertical pupils spread with joy, and Kalea raised her round dragon head. Ouch! After wailing, Kalea stood up on her dragon body. Her 4 claws landed on the ground, and a pair of chubby pure white dragon wings spread out on her back and flew into the sky. The dragon's body flew over the stone forest and stopped. Kalea turned the round dragon head to find the nearest green plant. Green plants, green plants. Where are the green plants? The dragon head paused, and new green plants grew around the stone forest next to the river below. The color was like emerald, so delicate and beautiful. Found it, the chubby dragon wings flapped, and Kalea swooped down. The fallen Kalea started picking work on the spot. Kalea's claws were beaten in less than half a minute. The 2 large nostrils on the round dragon head were hunched, a faint smell of blood poured into the tip of the nose, and the bright white vertical pupils quickly condensed. It seems to be the smell of food. The thick hind paws fell on the ground. The dragon's body stood upright, and its nostrils twitched again. The smell is over here. Chapter 72. Follow the path until you reach the riverbank next to the stone forest. Food. What a big piece of food. The sparkling pure white vertical pupils spread with joy. On the river bank in front, some distance away from the river, a red puppy lay quietly. Walking up to the puppy, Kalea stretched out her chubby dragon paw and poked it gently. Tilda! The sharp dragon claws easily pierced the skin, and blood flowed out from the wound. Kalea was poked several times before stopping. Don't move, it's dead. After confirming that the food was dead, Kalea stretched out her paws to hug the food, spread out a pair of dragon wings on her back, and flew into the sky to start her return journey. No, the green plants August AO wants have not been collected yet. Kalea reacted and returned again. After landing and collecting green plants for a few minutes, I took the food I picked up again and started the return journey. When Augustus heard the wind and raised his dragon head, he saw Kalea landing with a fire lion about 5 meters long in her arms. This idiot went out and shot some wild animals. Augustus was not surprised at all the extra food. Now he is the strongest being in this stone forest. Both Angia and Kalea have advanced to the 3rd ring. There is nothing that can threaten their existence in this stone forest. It can be said that the current stone forest is a paradise for them. There is enough food and enough regeneration cycles. As long as you take the time to suppress those high-level monsters that also eat meat, then the food in this stone forest will always be sufficient. Ogu, I'm back. This is the food I picked up. Picked up? After hearing Kalea's words, Augustus immediately looked at the food he picked up. It is an adult fire lion monster with a 3rd level rank. Can you pick this up in just one trip? This idiot's luck seems to be getting more and more outrageous. Wait, right? August's pupils quickly condensed into a vertical line. His red vertical pupils stared quietly at the wound where half of the fire lion's head was cut off. There was something wrong with this wound. There was a faint aura of divine power on it. If it was just that, it wouldn't make him care so much. The most important thing was that the aura of this divine power was almost exactly the same as that of the White Wolf King. But the White Wolf King has obviously already eaten, so why did things suddenly become weird? The red vertical pupils shrank. Time enlightenment. Part of the time magic in the body was consumed instantly. You ate the White Wolf King, and now the tribe that believes in him has come to your door. Look, they are on the other side of the river. The moment he received the revelation, Augustus raised the dragon's head and looked across the river. On the other side of the river, a young blue orc just walked out of the stone forest, and then he became confused. What kind of monster is on the other side of the river? Why does it look so scary on the outside? The moment their eyes met, August stood up straight. I really didn't expect these blue orcs to come to my door automatically. It just so happens that I am also a little interested in the way you can manipulate the gods of faith. The red dragon wings spread out and Augustus flew out directly. Except for the thick white scales on his abdomen, red scales cover his whole body. The color is like the fire of hell. The red vertical pupils seem to have flames burning in them. The slightly open mouth is full of sharp white teeth. It is obviously a flying monster. The body is covered with tight muscles. A pair of wings covered with red scales are very wide, and the sharp claws flash with cold light. The slender tail swinging behind his back was very sharp, like a whip waving in the hands of a demon. Horrible. This flying giant beast exudes a terrifying aura no matter where it is. The blue orc wanted to run, but his legs seemed to be missing and he couldn't move at all. No, at least we can't let the clansman have no reaction. I must remind my people. Run. With all his strength, the blue orc almost shouted out a word. Just this word seemed to drain all the strength from his body, and he collapsed on the ground, cold sweat constantly breaking out along his skin. Hearing the blue orc shout, August glanced at the blue orc who was already lying on the ground with some surprise. This guy has a pretty high level of willpower, but it's too late. At this time, Augustus had already flown above the river. When the distance was enough, the fiery red vertical pupils condensed, and the time pressure was activated directly. In the stone forest, when they heard the noise from the tribesmen, all the blue orcs immediately turned around and prepared to escape. Only the old priest sat quietly. The blue orcs had just taken 2 steps before they fell to the ground one by one. They felt as if their bodies were being pressed up by a mountain, and their bodies were completely unable to move. Shadows loomed above. A dragon head covered with fiery red scales poked down. Holding the stone pillar tightly with his claws, Augustus glanced at the blue orc lying on the ground quietly. 1, 2, 3, 8. Counting the one lying on the riverbank, there were 9 blue orcs in total. Augustus put the dragon's head in front of the old blue orc who was covered in feathers. This guy was the blue orc priest in timekeeping. A group of blue orcs sat with the old priest sitting there, and he seemed to be very calm. To be able to keep up under the pressure of time, this old priest must be of the fourth ring. So is this calmness brought about by strength? The red vertical pupils condensed slightly. There was a slight crack in the dragon's kiss, like a crack in the abyss, and faint black smoke overflowed from the gap in the dragon's kiss. Just when Augustus was about to attack, the old priest in front of him made a gesture that he had never expected. The old priest stood up from the stone slowly, and then his knees weakened. Kneel down. Yes, he was on his knees. Then he hit his head on the dirt. It took 4 or 5 seconds for the old priest to straighten his back. A powerful and unknown existence. You are so powerful, and the great light surrounding you is so dazzling. Anuka is willing to follow your light forever and offer eternal faith to the supreme and great you. %you and hashtag %%, asterisk and asterisk August? So what is this old priest talking about? There seems to be a bit of a language barrier. Huh. There was a sound of wind coming from the side. Augustus glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw that Angia and Kalea were also flying over. Auguseo, there's so much food. Kalea, who had just landed on a stone pillar, looked at the blue orc lying on the ground, and the crystal saliva immediately started dripping down the dragon's kiss. Ignoring this idiot who only knew how to eat, Augustus looked at Angia. It's a little bit crummy, but in terms of knowledge reserve, among the 3 of them, Angia is definitely the first. Angia, can you understand the language of this blue orc? As he spoke, August extended his tail in front of the old priest and gave it a gentle push. Boom! The old priest's body flew up and hit a stone pillar heavily. Chapter 73. Wow, the old priest, who had his hands on the ground, spat out a mouthful of blood. August. Why is there such a profession as porcelain in this other world? I obviously didn't use any force, so the old priest flew out on his own. Touching porcelain, definitely touching porcelain. Angia glanced at the blue orc priest who was coughing up blood, and then looked back at Augustus. The guy looked at the blue orc priest again, with a bit of surprise in his fiery red vertical pupils. It was obvious that this guy had no idea of his own power. After watching the old priest for a while and realizing that he had no intention of getting up and touching the porcelain, Augustus withdrew his gaze and looked at Angia. Seeing Augustus looking at her, Angia's head raised slightly. Of course, such a small thing is easy for her. She just needs to use basic magic patterns to carve a universal language. Yes, but I need 2 days to construct this magic. 2 days? No problem. Ignoring the pride in Angia's eyes, Augustus raised his dragon head and stared at the old priest not far away with his red vertical pupils. Timepeaks, let me take you away. There are some secrets hidden in these blue orcs. You should dig into them carefully. This will give you an unexpected reward. Ahem. At this moment, the blue orc priest coughed up another mouthful of blood. Augustus, who recovered from the revelation, glanced at the coughing old priest. Fortunately, it looks like he won't die for the time being. Does unexpected gain refer to the means by which these guys manipulate their belief in God? But if you can find a way, it would be really good to use your dependents to create a god of faith in the future. With a thought, Augustus withdrew the pressure of time. Ahem, feeling the pressure on his body disappear, the old priest immediately raised his head. Great being, are you willing to accept the followers of our tribe? Please believe me, we blue orcs are very useful. We can hunt for you, build palaces, and always carry out your will. %% and... What bird language did the old priest say again? I don't understand. Call. The long and winding dragon tail tore through the air like a sharp spear and thrust out. Poof! The 2 blue orcs who had just gotten up and wanted to escape instantly turned into 2 gourds strung on the dragon's tail. The red vertical pupils glanced indifferently at the 2 corpses on the back of the tail. You are really 2 stupid guys. Do you really think you can escape without me watching you? Madness. Do you want to grill the meat with your tail, Augustus? Kalea's round dragon head came close to the fiery red dragon's tail, and she opened the dragon's kiss and was about to bite it. Just when Kalea was about to bite, a strong dragon claw pressed directly on the round white dragon head. Staring at the food right in front of her, Kalea began to exert her strength. The round white dragon tried its best, but still couldn't make any progress. After exerting force for a while, Kalea felt the familiar temperature on the dragon's head. He raised his chubby right paw and touched the top of the dragon's head, and sure enough he touched a big, warm paw. The dragon's head turned to look at Augusteo, and its bright white vertical pupils began to blink twice. She didn't understand why the good Augusteo stopped her. Augusteo, why don't you let me eat meat? Augustus looked at this idiot who knew how to eat. Kalea, we are powerful dragon species, superior species. Eating intelligent species is something only those ignorant beasts will do. Do giant dragons have this rule? Of course not. Giant dragons can eat anything, especially the 5-color dragons. Their favorite is the elf species, which is sweet and juicy. It's just that it's not easy to show malice towards these blue orcs just yet. Killing and eating are two different concepts. First, he wanted to know about these blue orcs. Second, he wanted to visit the tribes where these blue orcs lived. According to the inheritance information, these blue orcs liked internal fighting very much. Usually, 7 or 8 tribes occupied one piece of land. Since this old priest's tribe believes in God, will other tribes also believe in God? Is that so? August glanced at Angia with a warning look, retracted his claws on the white dragon's head, and continued to look at Kalea in front of him. Of course, Kalea, can I still lie to you? The round white dragon head swings left and right. Yeah, I believe August. Well, the trick was successful. The dragon's tail was lifted up and the 2 gourds hanging on it were thrown high into the air and fell towards the depths of the stone forest. Don't run away. Everyone gather around me. Seeing the instant death of the 2 fleeing tribesmen, the old priest quickly opened his mouth and shouted loudly. In fact, without him shouting, the remaining blue orcs didn't dare to run away. This fiery red beast, which was particularly ferocious in both its aura and appearance, was clearly not looking at this place just now, but the fastest member of the 2 tribes lost his life within a few steps of starting. The remaining 6 blue orcs walked obediently to the old priest. The old priest glanced at the tribesmen. Their legs were shaking and cold sweat covered their bodies. These few steps seemed to have used up all their strength. Kneel down and offer your faith to our new God. Great being, please accept our most sincere faith. Following the old priest's shout, all the blue orcs followed the old priest and knelt down, lying on the ground in a prostrate posture. White light spots emerged from these blue orcs, gathered in the air, and eventually turned into a large light group. The moment he saw the light group, Augustus immediately felt a strong appetite emerge in his heart, and infinity continued to amplify in his heart. This thing looks delicious. The red dragon's kiss is slowly opening. At this time, there was a familiar cool touch and weight on my back. Kalea climbed onto August's back and pulled her chubby white dragon claws onto August's neck. Feeling the warmth of August's body, Kalea's pair of white vertical pupils quickly expanded. August, let's go back and have a barbecue. The red vertical pupils quickly condensed, and when he looked at the big ball of light in front of him again, his strong appetite was gone. Damn it, I've been tricked. The beliefs of these blue orcs are indeed not normal. The gaze in the red vertical pupils became more and more indifferent. For actually using dirty tricks on me, these blue orcs deserve to die, but not now. The malice in his vertical pupils gradually disappeared. The blue orcs didn't see all this, because they still kept their posture of prostrating themselves, waiting for August to accept his faith. This time it's all thanks to Kalea, this idiot, otherwise. Think about that stupid dog of the White Wolf King. Even if he becomes a puppet and believes in God, his power will still be extracted and used by this old thing. Literally the ultimate tool dog. He doesn't want to be the new dumb dog. Wait a minute, Kalea. Let me deal with these blue orcs first. Ouch. Aren't these foods inedible? Well, it's true that it's not edible, but it's useful. Chapter 74. At this moment, a blue afterimage stretched in the air and swooped down towards the large white light group. Noticing the swooping figure, Augustus reacted quickly. He stretched out his dragon claws and grabbed the slender blue dragon tail and pulled it. Swooping in front of the white light ball, Angia opened the dragon's kiss and was about to bite it in one bite. A huge pulling force came from behind, causing the open blue dragon kiss to bite an empty space. After biting the air, Angia immediately turned her dragon body around, opened her dragon's kiss, and bit the strong red dragon claw on her tail. The moment Angia turned around, Augustus noticed the violent desire in his blue vertical pupils. It was obvious that Angia was being tempted, just like he was just now. Faced with the biting blue dragon's kiss, Augustus was not polite. The moment the blue dragon's kiss was about to bite the dragon's claw, he let go of the blue dragon's tail. The strong dragon's claw directly grasped the blue dragon's head and fell to the ground. Go! Boom! Accompanied by a dull sound of heavy objects falling. When he heard the sounds of fighting, The old priest didn't raise his head and just lay quietly on the ground. Although the aura is terrifying and powerful, the monsters are just monsters after all and cannot resist their beliefs. This is normal. Next, he only needs to wait quietly for the outcome of the battle between these three flying monsters. In his heart, he is more inclined to win the red flying monster. It has the strongest aura and the largest size. The remaining two flying monsters should not be able to compete. August held down Angia and landed on the ground. The strong dragon claws with muscular outlines pressed the blue dragon head tightly, causing it to sink deeply into the earth. Feeling Angia still struggling under the dragon's claws, Augustus looked back at Kalea. The mere touch of this white idiot made him wake up from that temptation. This must be her blood talent. Kalea, hold Angia down. Something is wrong with her. Ouch! Kalea screamed twice and jumped off the August dragon's body. The chubby white dragon body pressed directly onto Angia's back. With Kalea's suppression, Angia immediately entered a state of being unable to struggle. The dragon's head was held down by Augustus, and its body was also held down by Kalea. In terms of strength, Angia and Kalea were far behind. Let me go, I've recovered. A childish and calm Samu Lolita sound came from under Kalea. Hearing this familiar voice, Augustus retracted his dragon claws, raised his dragon head, and looked at the pure white light group still floating in the air and the group of blue orcs on the ground who were prostrated. When looking at the blue orc, Augustus's red vertical pupils once again showed a hint of malice, but it was quickly suppressed again. The strong dragon claws were raised and aimed at the ground and dropped with all their strength. This pair of Augustus had no reservations. Boom! This claw seemed to be carrying a huge force, and the earth shattered into a rift valley 100 meters long. A group of blue orcs lying on the ground fell into the rift valley without having time to react. As the blue beastmen fell, the white light group condensed in the air dissipated instantly. The old priest who fell towards the rift looked at the fiery red figure standing on the rift with disbelief in his eyes. How can it be? How could this monster break away from the temptation of their faith? This is not normal. In order to hunt the White Wolf King as their god of faith, they killed more than 50 windwolves in total when he was weak before hunting the White Wolf King. This was almost a mortal enemy. But even so, the White Wolf King still did not hesitate to eat up their faith when faced with the temptation of their faith. And now this situation. Standing above the Rift Valley, August watched indifferently as a group of blue orcs fell into the Rift Valley, and his eyes also noticed the astonishment of the old priest. Is this old guy surprised? But don't worry, it's just the beginning. From the moment the old priest used the temptation of faith on him, the desire for destruction in Augustus was rising all the time. But he chose to suppress it for the time being. Of course, this is only temporary. The Rift Valley is not deep, only about 50 meters. Soon the blue orc fell to the bottom. Watching the blue orc until it fell to the bottom, Augustus turned around and looked at Angia, who had climbed up from the ground next to him. There were no wounds on her body, because he just used his claws to stop Angia, without really using any force. Under August's gaze, Angia silently lowered her dragon head. This time it was indeed her own fault. She was not vigilant enough, and was almost seduced by the beliefs of those blue orcs. There are records about beliefs in the inheritance. Compared with the records in the inheritance, the beliefs of these blue orcs are definitely abnormal. Normal faith does not exude such great temptation. Although she didn't know the specific situation, her intuition told her that eating the beliefs of these blue orcs would definitely not be a good thing for her. So this time I really have to thank this guy August. Seeing Angia surrendering, Augustus was a little surprised. In fact, Angia could not be blamed for this matter. The beliefs of these blue orcs were so weird that even he was falling for them. If it hadn't been for Idiot Bai, he might have really overturned this time. If he must be held responsible, it would be his own. If he used a time revelation, he would definitely be able to predict the strange beliefs of these blue orcs in advance. Angia, come and guard these blue orcs. If they dare to come out, just kill them and leave the old guy alone. Angia didn't reply, but silently moved the blue dragon's head twice. She had no objection to August's arrangement this time, and her pair of blue vertical pupils stared quietly at the small rift in front of her. The vertical pupils condensed quickly. Just keep that old thing. Watch the unity of faith in these guys. As a reminder, Augustus turned and looked at Kalea. Let's go, Kalea. Let's go back to the barbecue. This time, thanks to this idiot, I must reward this idiot properly, such as eating barbecue. Ouch! Kalea screamed twice and immediately moved her chubby dragon claws and quickly crawled towards the river. This idiot. Looking at Kalea's back, Augustus also moved his dragon claw, but after taking a few steps, he stopped again and looked back at the Rift Valley. Angia was already lying down on the ground of the Rift Valley, with her back to this side. Time peaks, let me take you away. At your request, Angia accepted the job of guarding. These blue orcs may encounter some bad treatment, but it is not a big problem. Angia will learn the language and master this magic in 3 days. After reading the revelation, Augustus's dragon claws became striding. We walked all the way to the river, got into the water, took a comfortable bath, then swam to the ladder pool and climbed ashore. Kalea was already sitting in front of the crab shell, waiting. August, I've skewered the meat. The chubby white dragon's claws held 2 pieces of meat skewered with bones and rocked back and forth. Chapter 75. This white fool was getting cuter and cuter. His fiery red vertical pupils spread with pleasure. August walked over to Kalea and sat down next to him. The big paw reached out to the round white dragon head and touched it gently. I always feel like this idiot is getting cuter and cuter. Okay, let's start grilling now. The flame spear in the crab shell no longer existed. He summoned a new flame spear, retracted the claws on by Fool's dragon head, held the spear and put it into the crab shell. He took the roasted meat from Kalea's claws and placed it on the crab shell. Rift mouth. A purple casting ring spreads out in front of Angia's blue dragon head lying on the ground, which is covered with mysterious and complex magic patterns that are difficult to understand at first glance. The purple magic thread constructs a new magic pattern in the air. The moment the magic pattern floated and engraved into the last empty space of the casting ring, the casting ring burst out with a burst of bright purple light. The glow lasted for just 2 seconds before returning to normal. The blue vertical pupils condensed slightly and formed. Next, blue vertical pupils stared quietly at the great rift valley in front of her, and slowly her dragon's kiss opened a slight gap. The blue magic thread appeared in front of the dragon head. The thread formed a complete casting ring and lit up with a faint blue glow. The next second, violent water flowed out of the casting ring and flowed into the rift valley. Angia watched the water flow quietly. As a blue dragon, she used water elemental magic. This was normal, because she awakened a new talent during this sleeping advancement. Magical power conversion. This is a talent with a high upper limit. Each sleep advancement allows her to unlock a series of magic power conversions. Now she can only convert water attribute magic power. But as the number of sleep advancements increases, she will unlock more magic conversion attributes. Ice, wood, fire, earth, light, dark. Sooner or later, she will control all basic magic attributes. After the water flow continued for about 5 or 6 minutes, Angia canceled the magic power supply. The casting ring in front of the dragon head instantly turned into blue light spots that rose and dissipated in the air. The slender blue dragon claw was raised, and purple magic threads appeared on the sharp claw tips. Soon a lightning element magic ball with a purple arc flashing and about the size of a basketball gathered out. The dragon claw holding the magic ball gently tossed it. The purple thunderball turned into a parabola and fell into the rift valley. Purple light lit up in the dark rift valley. What followed was a howl of pain. Hearing this beautiful voice, Angia's condensed blue vertical pupils expanded slightly. Just like that, Angia started to work as a serious guard. Every hour, throw a thunderball down the pit and listen to the response of the blue orcs below to make sure they are not dead. In this way, the time came to the end of the second day. The purple elemental ball, condensed in the blue dragon's claw, was thrown directly. A burst of purple light flashed in the rift valley. Compared with the beginning, the response under the rift has become much smaller and feeble. The blue vertical pupils that spread with joy condensed slightly. Okay, it's almost done. If you throw it anymore, these orcs may not be able to hold on anymore, and it's time to imprint the magic of universal language. The purple magic power gathered in front of the blue dragon body and formed a blank, casting ring foundation. In the crab nest, Augustus opened his thick eyelids. The moment he regained consciousness, August felt a familiar weight on his back. Looking back, Kalea was lying on his broad back like a lizard, with 4 chubby dragon claws spread out, the round dragon head also stretched out, and half of its big pink tongue spit out from the dragon's kiss. When it came out, the crystal dragon saliva dripped onto the crimson dragon scales and melted directly. This white fool's sleeping appearance was as bad as ever. The slender dragon tail extends and wraps around the waist of the chubby white dragon body. Lifting up the white idiot and placing it on the open ground, Augustus walked out of the crab nest. It's already the 3rd day, and Anjia should have learned the magic of universal language. Walking out of the crab nest, a pair of broad dragon wings spread out on his back. The total distance from the riverbank to the stone forest was only a few hundred meters. In just a few flutters of wings, Augustus flew to the top of the stone forest and landed. Hearing the sound of the wind, Anjia, who was lying on the ground, raised the blue dragon's head and saw Augustus landing in front of him. The dragon's claw landed smoothly, and Augustus looked at Anjia in front of him. "How's it going?" "Nothing happened. I have also imprinted the magic of universal language." Augustus lowered his dragon head and explored the rift. In the Rift Valley, a group of blue orcs huddled in a corner piled with dirt, their bodies shivering as if they were frozen. "Wait, why is there so much water in this Rift Valley?" Retracting his dragon head, Augustus glanced at Anjia in front of him. The thunder element magic power was abundant under the rift. It was obvious that Anjia had done something, but it didn't matter. Although the 7 blue orcs looked a little sluggish, they were all fine. Rift Valley Underground. Anuka was surrounded by tribesmen and warmed by their body heat. If it weren't for the care of his clansmen, he might have been unable to hold on long ago. For 3 days, they had not eaten anything except water, and their stomachs were already growling with hunger. Anuka looked at the water with dull eyes. "I don't know why the sacrificial ceremony failed. The temptation of faith that the 3 flying monsters received failed. There is now a blue flying monster guarding the top of the Rift Valley. Judging from the revenge of the blue flying monsters in the past 3 days, the IQ of these flying monsters is not low." "Escape? There is definitely no escape." There was a hint of despair in his turbid eyes. "Sorry, Amon. Aga may really not be able to go back this time." "Shasha." At this moment, there was a sound of movement above the Rift Valley. Anuka didn't react at all, staring at the water with his turbid eyes like a pool of stagnant water. It must be that the blue flying monster above the head is preparing for revenge again. In the past 3 days, they had experienced electric shocks and been tempted by a blue monster with a green plant, but in the end it was just a waste of energy. "Master Priest, it's a vine." There was excitement in the tribesmen's voices. Hearing the tribe's words, the old priest's cloudy eyes flashed with light. If possible, he really didn't want to die here. He would go back to protect Amon. If the tribe lost him, it would definitely be attacked by other tribes soon. By then, he with the Amon will become slaves to other tribes. This is not what he wants to see. Looking at the rock wall next to it, there was indeed a vine as thick as a wrist hanging down. Vines hang down from above the chasm. The only person guarding it was the flying monster. So is this a trap or not? There was hesitation in the eyes of the old priest, and the 6 blue orcs beside him watched eagerly as their priest made a decision. Placeholder. Where am I? Why does my whole body feel sticky, as if I've been soaked in some liquid? By the way, go to work. It's time for you to go to work. If you don't wake up, you will be late. Then your salary will definitely be deducted by the evil boss who arrives at the door 10 minutes earlier than anyone else every day. What happened? Why are my eyelids so heavy today? As if they were sewn shut with a needle and thread, and I can't open them. Thinking of this, fear could not help but emerge in my heart. At this moment, a wave of unfamiliar information was poured into his brain in an extremely violent manner. It hurts. My brain seemed to explode at this moment. It hurts. It hurts. Giant dragon species, red dragon species, countless unfamiliar information is rushing through the brain. Real name, Augustus Pandora Cronos. As the last real name was engraved in my mind, the tingling pain in my brain slowly subsided at this moment. Dragon species, real name. What on earth are these things? Why do I make myself feel familiar, but also a little strange at the same time? The stinging pain in his brain slowly dissipated, and slowly, he remembered everything. He was left by his wife to work overtime until early in the morning, but because he was so tired, He almost walked out of the company building with empty steps. His whole person was in a hazy state and his consciousness was in a trance. Just as I was crossing the sidewalk, a blue sports car roared towards me. Then there is no more, and human life ends on that day. But it wasn't all that bad. In the short 1 or 2 seconds before his body flew up and crashed down, he saw the right wheel of the obviously speeding blue sports car fly out and hit the guardrail out of control, turning into skin fragments. But now I have been reincarnated into a whole new world. This world has magic, knights, adventurers, and all kinds of magical beasts, and above the magical beasts are the upper species. He has now become an upper-class dragon, a dragon that has just accepted the dragon inheritance. Sad? A little bit. But as a dragon, you always have to look forward. At least this time my starting point in life is high enough. After silently comforting himself, he decided to accept the current situation. From today on, I am Augustus Pandora Cronos, a red dragon who wants to live as he pleases. Let's let the past go. The inheritance just now was too rough, and a lot of information was not processed in time. With a thought in his mind, Augustus reorganized the information just now. This feeling is very strange. If I have to describe it, it is like reading a novel on a mobile phone. There are 4 types of dragons in the inheritance. Metal dragons that are friendly to life, gemstone dragons that are relatively neutral, and 5 color dragons that are evil and greedy for money. And he himself belongs to the red dragon of the 5 color dragon species. The 5 color dragon mother has always had a dispensable attitude towards the young dragon. If it were not for the restraint of the 5 color dragon god, the 5 color dragon mother would not even want to raise the young dragon. Even if there is the restraint of the 5 color dragon god, don't think about expecting more dragon mothers. Responsible. Under normal circumstances, the 5 color baby dragon can only eat the first meal given by the dragon mother after breaking out of its shell. This is the only motherly love the dragon mother has for the baby dragon and nothing more. Also, when the dragon mother breaks the shell, she will test the bloodline of the young dragon. Those who are not fully developed and unable to pronounce their true name will directly become the dessert in the mother dragon's mouth. This is the 5 color dragon, a giant dragon species with an evil and cold-blooded nature. Advertisement. As for the 4th dragon species, that is the legendary dragon species. Their bloodline is far superior to that of ordinary giant dragon species. They are born powerful and have stood at the top of most creatures since they were born. There are very few dragons of this kind, and the known number currently in existence does not exceed the number of 2 claws at most. But this has nothing to do with him as a little red dragon. After sorting out all the information, Augustus immediately felt a wave of sleepiness attracting him, and his brain became dull at this moment. Sleepy. Since he was sleepy, he fell asleep and his consciousness slowly sank deeper. Soon Augustus fell into a deep sleep. I don't know how much time passed before August's consciousness came back to life again. My eyes seemed to be able to open. Feeling this, August knew in his heart that this meant that it was time for him to break out of his shell. The eyelids covered with fiery red scales opened, and the pink eye mask opened, revealing a pair of fiery vertical pupils as red as lava. There was a layer of light transparent liquid in his sight, which was egg liquid. It was quite abundant. I sighed in my heart and opened the dragon's kiss directly, pouring a large amount of egg liquid directly into the dragon's kiss. The taste of the egg liquid is not unpleasant, and the fragrance is mixed with a touch of sweetness. He kept drinking until the egg liquid in the eggshell dropped to his neck, and Augustus didn't stop. The dragon's kiss closed. August raised the dragon's head and stared at the top of the eggshell with a pair of fiery red vertical pupils. Okay, it's time to announce your arrival to the world. The fiery red vertical pupils like lava shrank and soon became a vertical line. The strong dragon claw covered with fiery red dragon scales was lifted up and aimed at the top of the eggshell. Click! Along with a cracking sound from the top of the eggshell, many eggshell fragments fell down. Augustus did not avoid it, and some fiery red flames vaguely appeared in a pair of red vertical pupils. He is very excited. In this life, I am a red dragon, and this will be a new beginning. And now he's ready to take the first step toward this new beginning. Crack! 2 strong dragon claws covered with fiery red dragon scales easily crushed the top of the eggshell, gradually expanding the only exit. It wasn't until the top of the eggshell was completely spread that Augustus stopped his claws. Standing upright in the eggshell, he stretched out his paw to pick up a piece of eggshell and looked at it carefully. The eggshell is about 5 centimeters thick, the inside is white, and the outside is covered with many fiery red dragon scales. You can tell at a glance that it is quite hard. Needless to say, The giant dragon species is indeed powerful. The 5-centimeter thick eggshells were as crisp as potato chips in front of him, a little dragon that had just broken out of its shell. This dragon body alone can probably catch up with most first-level monsters. The eggshells and the claws are thrown directly into the dragon's snout, and the texture is crunchy, indeed no different from potato chips. Lift the dragon's head again and see the exit above the eggshell. The back claws exerted a slight force, and the dragon's body jumped up. The round red dragon head crawled out of the egg first, followed by the body, wings, and finally the hind claws. Standing on the top of a 5-meter-high eggshell, before I had time to look at the place where I was born, an instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August opened the dragon's kiss. Augustus Pandora Cronos. An instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August opened the dragon's kiss. Augustus Pandora Cronos. An instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August opened the dragon's kiss. Augustus Pandora Cronos. An instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August opened the dragon's kiss. Augustus Pandora Cronos. An instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August opened the dragon's kiss. Augustus Pandora Cronos. An instinct of reluctance came from my heart, and my throat seemed to be filled with something at this moment. August